and their decision to go with one quarterback over another. Our latest article on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. Quickly to our great friend, Mike Tracy, political consultant, analyst, operative, a man of the world when it comes to politics. We're so blessed to have him with us every week. Thank you, Mr. Tracy.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad. You know, as you and I, we've been around for quite some time. It's amazing to me to see the power of Barack Obama. Again, as someone who has lived the politics longer than most of us have been alive, and that's a compliment, Mr. Tracy. Have we ever seen anything like Barack Obama?
No, he definitely, the 2 terms he was in was a force to be reckoned with. And he also, while he was able to win 2 terms, he was also very divisive with his rhetoric. And we saw, that's when we really started to hear a lot of the rhetoric that was divisive to the country. It started to permeate everything. And we didn't really hear that with campaigns and with various, the presidential platforms of other campaigns and their actual work while in office. And it always seemed like there was some racist or some kind of divisiveness going on within within his presidency. And the 2 terms that he was in, while he accomplished things that he wanted to get accomplished, they weren't necessarily the kinds of things that we wanted to have done. And the same could be said is true of Joe Biden. They challenged us to say, hey, we've accomplished a lot, but what have they actually accomplished? They've accomplished a lot of things that we don't want to have happen.
You're right. You're right about that, and we'll get back to that in a minute. It's really sizzle over the steak. Mike Tracy, let's talk a little bit about you. You're willing to help people with political causes. We are getting ready for a big political season, not only this November, but obviously, after that, we've got, a year of people campaigning to be the next governor. And, again, it'll be election cycles again for reps and senators, even though we haven't had the last one yet. It never ends in politics, does it?
No, it doesn't. In fact, as soon as this election cycle is over in November, people will already start thinking about the 2026 election cycle, as you said, for governor. And that'll be because the current governor he's in his 2nd term. A lot of speculation whether he'll run for a 3rd term like Butch Otter did, or whether he'll step aside. And then there's going to be a lot of folks jockeying for position. It'll be interesting to see how that happens. The fight will be in the primary, as it has been for the last several election cycles, when there's been kind of an open seat, and that primary is going to be a real battle. And once it's over, it's kind of like this year. The primaries were where most of the elections took place, and what we see, at least in Idaho, the real election already happened on May 21st. November 5th is fait accompli, and we'll as I said, 2 years down the road, we're going to see and hear a lot of campaign rhetoric starting sometime next summer. We'll start to see a lot in the summer of 2025.
Yeah, and again, that will be interesting to see who jumps in and who doesn't. It's interesting. Channel 7 did a good story about term limits. And, Mike, you're familiar with the term limits they passed, and then the legislature said, not so fast, my friend, and then they were brought back, and they didn't get enough to go over the top. Can you give us a little a blast in the past? And I'm sorry I didn't tell you a little bit about this earlier, but, I mean, you're an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to Idaho politics. The whole idea of term limits, it was approved and then it wasn't.
Well, you had term limits in Idaho. We've never had them at the federal level. Term limits really comes down to, if you don't want somebody in, you vote them out. But the power of the incumbency is pretty strong, and it's hard to vote somebody out of office. They have to really make some serious mistakes for that to happen. But we did have term limits in Idaho for a while, and I can't remember the exact years, but it didn't last long. And, what we're going to see is we'll continue to see changes in the Idaho legislature. Look at all the new faces we're seeing in the Idaho legislature. I mean, we had right here where I'm at in Meridian, Legislative District 20, Chuck Winder was beat by almost a no-name Josh Kaiser.
Yeah.
And so the pro tem of the Senate is gone. And that happened through an election. You didn't need a term limit there. And so there's a lot of the election cycle themselves have a way of being the term limit for the people that are in office. Whether or not we go back to having term limits in place as the law of the land, we have it for the President of the United States, but it really doesn't exist anywhere else, at least in Idaho or at the federal level.
Indeed. And, of course, you have the lobbying group, U.S. Term Limits. Mike, if people want to get a hold of you, and I apologize for not getting that out, again, our way of thanking you for joining us, you're always willing to help people. How can we get a hold of you?
Well, it's pretty easy, 208-863-3940, 208-863-3940. I appreciate that, Kevin, and appreciate the good people that listen to your show.
Well, and again, we love the knowledge, so let me hit you with this one. You worked with Senator Craig for years. And maybe you can reveal this, maybe you can't. Maybe you had some interactions with this gentleman as well. Did he ever comment on Barack Obama? Because he would know Obama before he was Obama.
Well, he really didn't. There wasn't much to know about him. He came in as pretty much a complete unknown, and that's why he was a force to be reckoned with. But no, he really was not well known at that point. He was coming in January of 2009 as Larry was retiring. So he didn't really work with him. I mean, he clearly worked with Joe Biden for years and years and years. But he really, his comments would have been offhand, and I don't remember him saying much about him. We all kind of had the same attitude when he came in. Who is this guy? And we found out, after 4 years in Obamacare and a lot of other things that we've been forced to live with, Larry never had much to say about him. After we found out what he was going to do, that's when we went, oh man, this is not good. And that was kind of the attitude of a lot of the people that I worked with, that they could not believe that not only did this guy get elected, but he got elected 2 terms, and he did a lot of damage while he was in office. As I mentioned, Obamacare was one of the things that really hurt our country and hurt the people that really wanted to continue to have the same kind of health care they had in place. That's gone.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Okay, again, let me jump on a ledge real quick before we get back to the DNC. Any Hillary Clinton stories that you can recall?
Well,
that you could share.
I would. Well, I don't know if there's any more that I could really share. Not many people had much good to say about her. I mean, she was elected under her, by her own right in New York as a senator, and which is, has more to do with the Clinton name than anything else. I mean, they put together quite the dynasty when they were down in Arkansas, and they expanded that to the White House, and they brought all those things to bear for the next 15, 20 years, and they've been heavily involved in being kingmakers along with Obama in the last 8 or 10 years. And even though Hillary tried to run and lost to Trump in 2016, she and her husband are still a force to be reckoned with out there, and probably will be for some time to come.
Well, and we're seeing that. We're seeing the Obamas and the Clintons, and it's all choreographed. But again, Mike, as someone who has made his living on politics, Obama was such a force that he derailed what it could have been the Clintons. It was supposed to be Hillary Clinton in 2008, and this guy came out of nowhere, used the caucus system like we have here in Idaho at the time, and really made the most of the least and derailed Clinton. Instead of talking about the Clinton legacy that you and I have talked about since the late 80s, we're talking about this guy, Barack Obama. I mean, the Clintons were the Obamas before Obamas. They're basically the Clintons are the Obamas with the scandals.
Yeah, very true. And boy, there were plenty of scandals to go around with the Clintons. the Obamas we saw from last night, hold a lot of sway with the party and are still considered almost, deities within the Democrat Party. And, I don't know that the Clintons still have that same kind of juice as the Obamas at this point. They still carry fray and really carry a lot of weight with the Democrat Party. But I still, if you look and watch how people respond within the Democrat Party, the Obamas still seem to have more and carry more sway, I should say, rather than phrase, more sway with their that base than the Clintons do.
Yeah. Mike Tracy joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So, have you been surprised by this DNC convention, considering, what was it, a month ago, it was supposed to be Joe Biden's party?
I think the real surprise is how they quickly disposed of him. They pushed him last night to the end of the speech lineup late into the night, and then they turn around and not only do they push him out late on Monday night, the first night, but he's gone for the rest of the session. He is absent. He only got his name was only mentioned a couple times by Obama last night. He's become persona non grata, and that doesn't surprise me because they did need to get him out of the way. He was really a stumbling block, and from my perspective, Joe Biden should have been gone a lot sooner than he got disposed of this summer. But the Democrats wanted him in because they wanted to have somebody who was that they could have in there that was malleable and do what they were told, and he filled that position very nicely for 3.5 years.
He did indeed, and now he's gone, and we've never seen anything like this. No one's even mentioning the president now, and he currently is the president of the United States. Mike Tracy, how tough will it be for the Democrats to have this new candidate, but she's held office for almost 4 years? It's kind of like they're trying to have the best of both worlds, sir.
Yeah, they are. They're trying to disconnect from what has happened the last 3.5 years, and it's really difficult to shake that. And from my perspective, she can't do the disconnect. She can try. She's going to try, but I think in the end, Trump is going to win this thing. It's going to be a battle, and those battleground states. Those toss-up states are going to be very, very critical, and we're going to have to watch. Really, what it comes down to is cheating in those states. It happens all the time, and you see it happen, especially with states that do all this ballot harvesting, and they go on for weeks after the election's over with, and all of a sudden more ballots show up. That's something that's really dangerous to the republic to have that kind of cheating going on in states, and we've seen it happen over and over and over again in some of these states that start with early ballots and with early voting, and then they go past the election day by a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and show up with more ballots after the election's over with. That doesn't make for very honest elections or elections that people have any real confidence in.
Mike, anything else we should be looking out for the rest of the week, whether it's nationally or locally?
No, I think that's covered it, Kevin. I really appreciate the time, and hope you guys have a great rest of the summer, and look forward to hearing your voice next week. And if somebody does need to get a hold of me, they can call me at 208-863-3940. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our great friend Mike Tracy. We'd love to get your comments. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, Idaho's talk station, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. And are people really buying what the Democrats are selling? Don Lemon, as Tucker Carlson liked to call him back in his Fox News days, had a chance to hit the streets and talk to some people.
How are you feeling about the election?
I'm going for Trump. I feel like every time they don't want somebody who is good for us to win, they throw somebody black in our face thinking that's going to make us vote for the black person.
I voted for Obama because he was black. I don't want to vote for her because she's the first black woman to run for president or to win.
I don't vote.
Well, I want Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I want Donald Trump.
Why do you apologize? Well, I know nobody likes him, but we had good times with Donald Trump.
I'm running for Trump, so.
You are?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why?
Yeah. I don't know. I just always been a fan of his, so that's what I'm running for.
I used to be against Trump. I used to live in Virginia. I saw the bad side of it, but really moving to Cleveland, but I saw the other side of it.
I'm supporting Trump.
You are. Mm-hmm. Because
Because it has to change.
Yeah.
It has to change, and now I vote more for what fits me better as a person, rather than voting for the black person or voting for the first woman. So,
what do you think about Kamala Harris?
I think they say she phony and fake. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, I'm like Trump saying, you know, what are you? You know, so I'm not feeling her. People get mad about it. I'm just not feeling her.
I don't like her the way she speaks, the giddiness, the laughing. Everything's a joke, and it's not a joke. We're in trouble.
I'm going for Trump. Kamala was on Biden's team, and I don't like Biden. Gas wasn't this high when Trump was our president. Food wasn't this high. I'm going for Trump.
There we have it at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And you ever wonder about the first gentleman, Doug, what's his name? Doug Emhoff. Remember, he gave a speech last night. And instead of really, if you ever notice, these politicians continue to just talk about themselves. I suppose they're trying to introduce themselves to the American public, the American populace. But come on. Really?
I got married, became a dad to Cole and Ella. Unfortunately, I went through a divorce, but eventually started worrying about how I would make it all work. And that's when something unexpected happened. In 2013, I walked into a contentious client meeting. We worked through the issue, and by the end of the meeting, the now happy client offered to set me up on a blind date, which is how I ended up with Kamala Harris's phone number. Now, for generations, people have debated when to call the person you're being set up with. And never in...
Now, by the way, you're listening to Kevin Miller here on KIDO Talk Radio. This guy is a businessman. This guy is married to the vice president. This guy is her confidant, her best friend. And instead of talking about her character, instead of talking about her principles, which we're still trying to find out, instead of talking about her economic plan, instead of talking about what they're going to do for us, he's giving us the dial-a-date story.
history has anyone suggested 8:30 a.m. And yet, that's when I dialed. I got Kamala's voicemail, and I just started rambling. Hey, it's Doug. I'm on my way to an early meeting. Again, it's Doug. I remember I was trying to grab the words out of the air and just put them back in my mouth. And for what seemed like far too many minutes, I hung up. By the way, Kamala saved that voicemail, and she makes me listen to it on every anniversary.
Yeah, that's what we want. 4 more years, everybody. We want 4 more years. 4 more years of the cult of personality. Not to be confused, Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, whose father was tragically killed in Lebanon, I believe, when Steve Kerr was still going to school at the University of Arizona, decided to jump into politics. Again, he's a coach, he's this, that, and the other. But he talked about the dangers of speaking out. There's no danger in speaking out when you're a Democrat. There's no danger in being a liberal. There's no danger to that, even in Idaho. There isn't. Now, you want to speak out, let me just tell you a little story here, that primarily people in Idaho, and I don't blame them, even people in Pennsylvania weren't afraid. And there were more Democrats in Pittsburgh than there were Republicans. But the idea that we've all become scared, we've all become afraid of the Democratic cancel culture. We've all become afraid of, I don't want to be involved in politics because I'm afraid. Because I'm a sissy. And I get it. You don't want your livelihood canceled. That's one thing I love about the gun industry. The gun industry unapologetically is promoting the Second Amendment because they know that if they don't through the First Amendment, they will be canceled. Everybody else, I don't want to be involved in politics. I don't want to be involved in something that regulates our lives. I don't want to be involved in something that actually makes a difference. I would rather live in the Matrix.
Go enjoy your beer and ride your ATV and watch sports. We'll run the country.
Or have some delicious fried chicken.
Oh, this is the best fried chicken, and I helped.
But if you're a liberal, no fried chicken for you.
So they can play in their freaking garden, smoke their pot, drink their fancy wine, and eat their caviar like the liberals do.
Exactly. So the liberals are having their moment. What is not being reported by the national media, that despite everything else, voting for Obama, and look, when you bring in Michelle and Barack Obama, they eclipse the candidate. That's why Biden always kept his difference. He knew you never bring in anybody better than you. And that's where we are right now, where the Obamas are coming back because they want to run the show. As we said, of the last 16 years, the libs have been in charge. It would be like Mayor McClain.
Joe Biden.
Hate it when that button sticks. Blaming the Republicans or Kevin Miller or a conservative for the problems of Boise. She and Mayor Beater have owned Boise longer than the Soviet Union was allowed to be there and foster. So 12 of the last 16 years at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, the libs have run the place. And you're going to blame Donald Trump for being a bad guy? Donald Trump saved America. Donald Trump saved America. And by the way, it's very easy. It's very easy to be wonderful when you have every resource targeted to help you. Donald Trump in the media.
Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you for coming.
So here he is, and the reporters ask him about being in a town associated with white supremacy. What does that have to do with anything? Again, a town in Michigan.
Who was here in 2021? Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
And there you have it, the magic of Donald Trump. You're not going to find that anywhere else, even with Barack Obama. And the chickens may continue to come home to roost. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. A Georgia couple sued Emory University Hospital in the Midtown. Do we have a Midtown here? Probably not. Because it lost a portion of a patient's skull during a September 2022 surgery and then billed $19,000 for the replacement, according to court filings. So you go in, they remove part of your skull, and then they can't find it. So they put in, a plastic skull? The couple, Fernando and Maria Cluster, filed a lawsuit against the local hospital claiming negligence after the hospital allegedly misplaced a portion of Fernando's skull following the brain surgery. The lawsuit, and by the way, there's a picture of this on Twitter. The lawsuit details a series of events which allegedly led to an extended hospital stay, additional surgeries, and, of course, emotional distress. Now, they admitted Fernando for emergency operations because he had bleeding in the brain. Now, you think you're having a tough day. Imagine if they removed 20 to 15 centimeters of your skull and intended to replace it in a subsequent surgery. Apparently, they mismanaged it, and they didn't comment on this story. So you think you're having a bad day, or as we like to say, the Greg Ferrer uh-ohs. You know, the uh-ohs are not okay, but there are certainly differing levels of uh-ohs when you think about that. When you think about losing somebody's skull, yes. Losing somebody's this, that, and the other. Or like when they leave, what do you call it? They leave things in your body after surgery. Anyway, if you ever wondered why Kamala's laugh is so boring. And we're getting ready for that, right? Think about that. Is it boring or is it annoying? And we're about ready to possibly hear that for quite some time, because maybe she'll win, maybe she won't. But you ever just wonder about that? Well, our friend Ann Coulter broke this down for us. And the idea of why is it so annoying? Well, maybe she's laughing at us. Could someone teach Kamala to laugh only when something is funny? It's not the sound of Kamala Harris's laugh that is so irritating, although to be fair, it is. If that she laughs when nothing remotely has been said that's funny. The blandest statements, usually her own, prompt her to explode in gales of laughter, doubling over, wide-mouthed, nose crinkled, her entire body shaking, often accompanied by the hand clapping and the foot stomping. Think about that as we're looking at her plan to make inflation worse. Price controls and rampant spending. Do we really want that, folks? These performances would be show-offy at a Dave Chappelle show, but Harris does it to punctuate a sentence. Here's an actual transcript of her remarks at a recent Las Vegas rally. Harris, can we hear it for Tim Walz? Ha, 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 ha. Hey, Nevada. Okay, it's good to be back. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Ha. It's a nervous reaction. And is it really necessary? No, of course it's not necessary. But you have people in broadcasting, they call it, you're going to your crutch phrases. It's a crutch. Like for me, it would be waking up on the right side, or you're right, or something of that nature. Liberal Steve is always very good at identifying my crutch phrases. Or for others, you say the call letters too much. And it goes on and on and on. The power is with the people. It's with the people. And so in the next 87 days, we needed to use the power. Statements like, it's good to be back, and isn't Walz fantastic, aren't bad jokes. They're not jokes at all. They're not even passingly amusing remarks. In January 2019, as Harris was entering her third year as U.S. Senator, MSNBC's Jonathan Capehart asked her the most cliche of all questions: did she plan to run for president one day? And what did she do? She couldn't stop laughing. She has a nervous laugh. And you think about this and the idea of, nothing is funny. The situation in the world is nothing to be laughed at. But Ann Coulter writes, by forcing her audience to laugh with her, Harris makes them all look like nitwits. It's a natural instinct to join someone laughing at his own joke out of politeness. How many of us, and God bless you, that do when we go, hey, everybody, and you clap. But what if it's not funny? And if you don't laugh, you're rude. But if you laugh, you're an idiot. I like that. If you vote for Harris, you're an idiot. If you don't vote for Harris, you're rude, you're racist, you're xenophobe, you're all sorts of things. You could see how a person of normal intelligence reacts to Harris and her laugh track in several videos again and again. And she goes on and on about being woke. And I'm thinking to myself, woke? Thankfully, some of the people are actually getting rid of the DEI, if you will, some of the colleges. But if Harris and Walz are elected, what's the lesson? That Biden picked Harris because of her race, he said so. Harris picked Walz because of his race. Are they the best people for the jobs? No, of course not. America needs people to actually earn their jobs, to actually do the right thing, to actually be qualified. You shouldn't just be able to actually get on Indeed.com or LinkedIn or whatever and get the job that we have right now, the highest in the country. You have to earn it. And look at the experience. Donald Trump, businessman, Donald Trump, a person who has done just about every job in America. Kamala, what has she done as vice president? Oh, that's right. We're not ready to acknowledge that she was Joe Biden's vice president. We're not ready to do that. We're not ready to say that she's responsible for the border. She's responsible for everything else. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well, plus some more sound clips. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio.
KIDO Talk Radio. Turn up your radio. Here's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
We're now watching what is an attempt at the biggest transformation lie campaign in the history of this country. The Medicare for All bill that Kamala Harris herself sponsored with Bernie Sanders, she doesn't believe in anymore, according to her aides. The border wall that she mocked, that said was ineffective and doesn't work, now she's saying that she will build a border wall. The mandatory gun buyback, confiscation, in other words. Oh, no, the campaign says they don't support that. The no fracking, no drilling ban that she supports. No, she supports them. Defunding ICE. Oh, no, she supports them. EV mandates that she said over and over again she supports. Oh, no, she doesn't support that either. I mean, it's a pretty unbelievable attempt at a transformation.
Check out the Sean Hannity radio show later today, right here.
War, inflation, and recession. Did you know that experts call gold the everything hedge? Gold goes far beyond hedging against inflation or the stock market. It can potentially even guard you against today's wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Not to mention the great economic danger of a recession coming, which is what we're all worried about. And that's why gold just hit another record high. And central banks, they just keep buying gold at a record pace. It's Linda here. Join me and thousands of people who have called Goldco the #1 rated gold company. It's time you diversify your money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold and silver. Today, Goldco is offering our listeners up to 8 years in free IRA fees, plus up to 8% in bonus silver with a qualified account. Call 855-815-GOLD for free IRA fees, free bonus silver, and a free gold and silver info kit. What are you waiting for? Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD. Do it today. You can't wait.
Following here. But I do want to tell you a little story that Newsmax had yesterday, and it was about Harley Davidson. Let's take a listen.
Don't think the LGBTQ purple-haired protesters are really their purchasing base. I mean, no wonder that so many loyal customers were upset earlier this year when they put all these woke DEI initiatives. But now they're calling that quits. Quote, the company announced it was ditching a scoring system that rates how inclusive businesses are for LGBTQ people. It has put all sponsorship deals under review, stating that its primary focus will be retaining its loyal riding community. It also announced that it will no longer adhere to targets to purchase supplies from female or minority-owned groups. I mean, this is like a noble concept, right? Make good motorcycles for the people who actually buy them, not the purple-haired weirdos.
Right, and thank God for people like Robbie Stuckey, who found this and made sure to get it out to the people who ride Harley Davidson motorcycles. I mean, and then if you look at, their recent rallies and, the marketing campaigns that they tried to do, no one's showing up to the tents. It's probably scaring them half to death. They're like, we don't want to become another Home Depot or Lowe's or, Tractor Supply,
Bud Light.
Bud Light, Dead in the Water brand, because the problem is that these brands make money on the back of blue collar workers who enjoy.
By the way, this is from Newsmax, the Carl Higbee show, I believe, Frontline, and our friend Mary Rourke. You remember her from Daily Caller? We've had her on, but the idea that you have these corporations, and we see this here. Nobody wants to cause any trouble. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to stand for principles. Everybody's afraid. If you're afraid in Idaho, there's really no other state to go to. And it's so funny that if you stand up for your principles, you get canceled. But now people are, including Harley Davidson, which is a great American brand. With all due respect, I don't see DEI working for Harley Davidson. One of the dumbest decisions ever, as they talk about here.
Boy, being able to spend their hard-earned money on premium brands like Harley Davidson and ride around with the jackets and really show off their bikes. And whenever you spit in the face of these people, it is no wonder that they're going to stop buying your products, and they'll just go find someone who will be happy to sell them products, who love them and appreciate them. And Harley Davidson, the CEO there, is just as woke as you can possibly get, falls into all of those different types of mind viruses. And it's no wonder that now they're having to backtrack, because I'm sure that they saw their dead tent over there at Sturgis Rally and felt to themselves, oh no, we are going down a bad path right now.
I watch these concerts that we go to. You'll have a bunch of people in line for beer, and the Bud Light tent is still 3 years later totally empty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no matter what the UFC does or anybody else, the bottom line here is, in business, you have to appeal to a wide variety of people. And as I was talking about a young lady just joining the staff here, right here, conservatism, right here, it's mainstream. Now, you want to go to San Francisco, you can be a liberal, and you can have a liberal talk radio. Oh, that's right. The talk radio shows that are liberal, they don't work. They never have worked. They never do any of these, anything else. The bottom line here is that whether it's Bud Light, whether it's Harley, why are you dissing your base? That's the craziness about this. Why are you, again, I'll tell you the people that warned about it. First, it was Bill O'Reilly. Then it was Glenn Beck. But Glenn Beck has been talking about DEI for quite some time. Again and again and again. And it's great that we have the DNC when we're talking about everything is great and wonderful. But whether it's the Democrats, whether it's the Republicans, could you imagine that if all of a sudden we have this incredible deficit along with the national debt, and we sit there and do nothing about it? Absolutely nothing about it. At 580-5436-580-KIDO. And what we're seeing here is the Democrats, they're talking about how bad Donald Trump is, because if they talk about the economy, nobody has mentioned Joe Biden. Joe Biden is out. Nobody has mentioned the millions of illegals coming in. And it's great that we have this compassion for the lawbreakers and the people on the terror watch list and the rapists and the killers and everything else, along with the good lawbreakers. Everybody coming into this country, you're a lawbreaker. If you don't come in legally, you are a lawbreaker. Ask the people what it's like to come into this country legally. Ask the people that marry a foreign national what they have to go through, where the government grills you and questions your integrity if you want to let people in. By the way, breaking news, you think buying a house is going to cost you a lot of money now? Wait until the Democrats get in power. Oh, that's right, they're still in power.
Around the corner. For some people, it's already started. They already know what that cost is.
Matt, we had to interrupt you before you were.
I know, and I wanted to hear your answer.
Oh, it was so intelligent. I already forgot.
Well, yeah, it was a great response that unfortunately we had to cut away from. But now that you've heard the speech, what stands out to you as the most clear and effective line of attack that we're likely going to hear from Republicans as a response?
Two things. I think number one, she took a lot of far left positions during her first run in 2019 and 2020. She has, temporarily kind of moderated these through some anonymous quotes from aides saying, well, she doesn't really want to ban fracking anymore. She doesn't want to do this, doesn't want to do that. This new program that she's kind of doing is pretty far left, $25,000, price controls essentially. That's number one. But the other thing is, kind of conveniently forgot she was vice president for the last 4 years when a lot of the housing market crisis was at its worst, when inflation was at its worst. So there's a lot of memory holding that. But look, when it comes to the $25K, I mean, you just added $25,000 into every price on every home price in the country. Because if you're giving that away essentially for free, people will add it into the price. And obviously, price controls have come under criticism from the Washington Post, Catherine Rampell, whom this channel's talked to earlier. So you're going to see a lot of that in the messaging over the next couple of days, if not weeks, as we go into the convention.
And Julie.
So in other words, remember, the vice president in a new proposal wants to give everybody $25,000 to buy a home. And when you give, as this gentleman pointed out, $25,000 in a tax credit to buy a home, your home prices are going to go up $25,000. Is your income going to go up? We take a look at these subsidies that we're giving to people that are buying electric vehicles, that are buying solar and everything else. And gosh, that's great. Everything is wonderful, but we still have to pay for it. Everything isn't free, and the Democrats are too busy doing everything that they can to distract us from the actual truth. The actual truth at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, is that this election should be over. But the media doesn't want Donald Trump back in. The media doesn't want any Republican back in. The media doesn't want anybody of value back in that can destroy their agenda, which I really don't know what their agenda is. Massive people coming in, unregulated, illegally, the border, the wars going on, the anti-Israel policy, the economics that we continue to beg, borrow, and steal.
So psyched to see all of you. I decided instead of the MAGA movement, we're going to start the MAMA movement. That is Make America, Michigan, and Minnesota again.
Do you ever fly through Minnesota? Do you ever fly through Minnesota, the Minnesota-Minneapolis airport? It's very diverse. It's very diverse. It's a place that you can go and people aren't speaking English, the people that work there. Why? Because they brought in people from all sorts of, all over the place, a large Somali population. Well, that's not so bad. Are they here legally? Look, you have a congresswoman that has pledged her allegiance to Somalia that represents the United States of America. If that's what you want for your congressperson and they're here legally, so be it. Nobody wants to make America like Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, where they chant death to Israel, death to America, where outside the Democratic National Committee in Chicago, they're burning American flags. We burned American flags during the Vietnam War, which is still an unrepentant insult to every patriot person in our country. When you burn an American flag, but you're doing this outside a national convention, what's the purpose of that? Do you still go home at night? Do you still get fed? Do you still live in the safest country in the world and you burn an American flag? Why don't you go to the Gulag in Russia and see how that plays out for you? Michigan stinks. Minnesota stinks. But America cannot do that. That's why we need to make America great again, not make America Michigan and Minnesota again. Besides, in Minnesota, they talk funny.
I do bring you greetings from my state where the women are strong, the men are good looking, and all the vice presidents are above average.
What is that supposed to mean? These double entendres, and Obama last night with his little comments about crowd size. Are we in third grade?
We are the home of Humphrey Mondale.
580-KIDO. Don't forget the KIDO Talk Radio website. Some great articles on there that we just put up for you. And a look at Boise State's playoff chances. Many of the experts believe this is the year the Broncos will be the first Group of 5 team to go to the college football playoff. Before that, though, go to our great friend David Ripley from Idaho Chooses Life. David, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Well, we thought we'd give you the audience a brief respite from the endless Kamala clips that we'll be inundated with throughout the day.
Yeah, it's very tedious and frustrating to be watching this Hollywood production. Turning her into someone she's not and selling us a bill of goods. So I appreciate the chance to talk about something real.
Well, and the crazy thing is you have people that are buying it, even though when you go to the grocery store, the evidence is hitting you right in the face.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think it's going to last. So be of good cheer. I have a lot more faith in the American people to see through this nonsense, and they're going to vote. They're going to vote in their best interests, I think, at the end of the day, and that certainly is not the Harris-Walz team.
No, not at all. It's interesting. The battle for life continues, and it seems the Democrats are pulling a Karl Rove, and we'll explain this to everybody. In 2004, when George W. Bush was running for re-election, he made sure that the base was fired up by putting on the ballot marriage, defense of marriage, traditional marriage. It worked out well for the president at the time he was reelected. Now we see the Democrats mirroring that strategy by putting abortion on ballots throughout the United States. And of course, we'll talk about the fight in Idaho. As a political operative, a lobbyist, David Ripley, what do you think of this strategy, making abortion the big issue with Harris and Walz?
Well, the fact is, if you look at what they've had to say, the statements from the campaign, it is extraordinarily vague. There are many promises about a brighter future, but there's a little substance to how we're going to get there, and no explanation about why they haven't started work on that over the last 4 years. But the one thing they're crystal clear about is killing babies. They are the party 100% committed to killing babies. And even so, going so far as to have a Planned Parenthood abortion ban parked at the DNC for free abortions. I don't know what the final death toll was, but I did see an official statement from Planned Parenthood on the first day that they were proudly proclaiming that they had killed 25 babies on the first day through medical chemical abortion. And I'm old enough to remember the days when the Democratic Party, in the form of Hillary and Bill Clinton, talked about abortion almost with some shame and regret. So they proclaimed that they were campaigning to make abortion safe, legal, and rare. Those days are long gone, and the only thing the Democratic Party is very clear about is its commitment to abortion on demand. I don't think the American people are going to buy that. They're certainly not going to buy that as a substitute for dealing with issues like border security, terrorism, crime, inflation, and on and on. So I think it's a strategy of desperation, really. And I also have to say that it is a strategy which reflects a party that is basically embracing evil. And folks don't like talking like that. They don't like spiritualizing these issues, I think. But I believe that we are involved in a very intense spiritual struggle at the bottom of the barrel here. When you cut through all the propaganda and all the movie making, America is confronted with a real stark choice this fall between blatant evil and life.
Well, and when we take a look at this, they're not even lying as we played this clip yesterday.
We got 70 days to act right, y'all.
That's right.
Now, after 7 days, we can go back there and crazy. Right?
I mean, they joke there, but that's essentially what it is. We'll get back to the national race. Let's get to what's going on in Idaho. Your thoughts on the battle for life in Idaho, sir. By the way, our great friend David Ripley joining us, Idaho Chooses Life, IdahoChoosesLife.org with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. So, David, let's talk a little bit about this, because all we hear from the media is how, we're going to put abortion on the ballot and this, that, and the other. You've been involved in ballots initiatives before. What do you see happening here, sir? What's going on?
Well, the first thing that has to be said is that on Sunday, we're going to mark the second anniversary of the Defense of Life Act. That law has now been in effect for 2 years, and we have saved approximately 4,000 babies, maybe more. It's difficult to know how many abortions may be happening out of state or how many abortions might be happening with people shipping in illegal drugs into the state of Idaho. But given the historic numbers, I think we're looking at about 4,000 babies that have been saved in the state over the last 2 years. That's larger than many small towns in the state. That is Idaho's future. That is going to rebound to be a tremendous blessing to the people of Idaho for generations beyond us. You never hear that discussed, by the way, on Channel 7 or the Statesman, or even among many of the so-called medical experts or political operatives that talk about Idaho's abortion law, which is, I believe, the best in the nation. They never talk about the fact that lives are being saved, and not just babies, by the way. The lives of those mothers and fathers are being saved also. I don't care what kind of propaganda comes out of the left. Abortion is not a happy experience, and there's a lifelong battle to deal with that history. And Idaho's Defense of Life Act is also protecting women from accumulating and acquiring that history and that regret and that sorrow over a lifetime. So before we get into the plans of the enemy, I just want to celebrate with you and your listeners what Idaho has accomplished and what is happening in this state. And it's something to be grateful to the Lord for, and grateful for the political leadership and cultural leadership we have in this state. I think it's amazing, really, just amazing.
Well, and a lot of that effort goes to you and the people that work behind the scenes. Our great friend David Ripley joining us, Idaho Chooses Life. Get involved with them today, idahochooseslife.org. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. You know, you mentioned the media. It's amazing that we can do so many stories on the battle for life in Idaho, and yet nobody reaches out to you or any of the other pro-life people to get the other perspective. All we hear about is one perspective. And look, Channel 7 ran a 4-day story on it, and Channel 7 used to be the big dog. They're still okay, although losing a lot of relevance, and they've gone in a leftist direction, which is unfortunate. However, as I sat there and sped through it because I didn't want to watch the propaganda, I was the only one on the radio or anywhere going, "Where's David Ripley? Where's the other side of the story? Why don't they?" Being a journalist, the devil's advocate, if you will, why not get both sides of the story, which they fail to do? And not only Channel 7, but you have the national media focusing in on Idaho as well, making their coverage is so bad, making Channel 7's look objective in comparison.
Yeah, you bet. I never hear from Channel 7, just for the record, or the Statesman. I occasionally get calls from around the Supreme Court hearing. I got several media calls from national publications like The Atlantic, and I did some of them. But the point, that's always a struggle for me, because when those outfits call, what they're looking for is a end quote after they've written a story that's 14 pages long, and they throw me in at the bottom of the thing in order to pretend that they are doing actual, reporting and are not biased and are objectifying the issue. So it's really a dilemma to participate in that kind of conversation, because it's not a conversation at all. It's designed to, create a scam pretense that real information is being shared with their listeners or readers or whomever.
Well, and it's usually, preceded by a snarky comment or something to destroy your credibility.
Yeah, and again, this just provides me an opportunity to thank you and to acknowledge you, because you are one of the rare persons in the entire state of Idaho that affords me an opportunity to talk about these issues in any substantive way. And I think that you are a great blessing to the people of Idaho for that. So thank you.
Look, I'm just trying to hang with you, brother. I appreciate that. Let's delve into this when we're talking about the state. Again, we've got ranked choice voting on the ballot. We've got, education on the ballot. The governor derailed it last year by just paying them off with the money. We're seeing ballot initiatives pretty much circumvent the will of the people, circumvent the will of the legislature. And, you and I talked about this a couple of years ago. We joked about weed coming on the ballot. That's probably next. They've tried it a few times. However, we're going to see abortion on the ballot. Your thoughts? Or an attempt to?
Well, there's two big topics right there. One is we have expected that Planned Parenthood is going to put DOLA on the ballot. They're going to try to repeal our protections for preborn children. They were at work on it. I expect that's going to happen. We're going to have a ballot fight 2 years from now, and they've got a lot more money than we do. They've got the media, and yet I'm optimistic because at the end of the day, the people of Idaho are going to make a decision about what kind of state we're going to live in, what kind of state we're going to give our children. And I believe that Idaho is going to do the right thing. And but I do want to comment, since you mentioned it, this ballot initiative that we're going to face in a couple of months on open primaries and ranked choice voting is extraordinarily dangerous. And it is a con job that will destroy Idaho if it passes. If we return to open primaries, you're going to see a situation in which Democrats and Democrat operatives are able to move in and pick the candidates for both parties in contest. Under what scenario does that seem to be any kind of a fair democratic process, right? And you may think that I'm engaging in hyperbole, but the fact is, I know from what I speak. I was the political director for the Idaho Education Association before I came onto the right side of life. My job was to organize. In those days, we did not have a closed primary in which you had to be a registered Republican to vote in the Republican primary and to pick Republican candidates for office. In those days, it was an open deal. And I made my living, and was very good at it, by the way, at organizing Democrat and independent crossover to jimmy those primary elections and to end up with an organization like the Idaho Education Association, who is choosing the candidates in both parties for the general election. And that produced a very liberal legislature, and a legislature that refused to take up the abortion issue. You know, don't forget, in the 90s, we could not get a bill introduced or printed in the legislature that had anything to do with abortion. And that was the direct result of a primary situation in which candidates were being picked by Democrats who could cross over at will under great organizational talent with money, you know, from unions to be able to motivate their people to go in and vote and pick the most liberal Republican running, often Democrats who are pretending to be Republicans. And that doesn't even get into the bizarre question of ranked choice voting.
Well, David, David, we're going to hold you on that. We're going to hold you for one more segment, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure, that'd be great.
All right, more with our great friend David Ripley from Idaho Chooses Life, idahochooseslife.org. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, who joins us now. The talented Mr. Ripley. I know you've heard that many times from Dennis Mansfield and others. But we were talking about ranked choice voting and the challenges that we're seeing, and you talked about being on the other side, and now Idahoans face this grave danger. And once again, you know, thanks to you, Raul Labrador, and others, we have closed primaries. But if ranked choice voting comes in, it just why even have political parties? It's just going to be crazy.
It is crazy. And it's designed, by the way, to empower the minority. It is actually designed to flip democracy and a Republican form of government on its head, so that somehow a majority vote is dissipated into the cosmos, and a minority of voters will end up deciding even general elections. And I can't emphasize enough that my comments about the open primary are not theoretical. That's what I did, and I was very good at it. You have enough money, you can sell a lot of, horse bucky to the universe, and I had access to a lot of money, and we killed off a lot of conservatives in that era. And I am very concerned about the fact that we have outside national groups coming in to jury-rig Idaho politics and culture. And once again, we are faced with the problem that these unions and organizations come in with millions of dollars to manipulate Idaho through the ballot, and there's no organized opposition. We don't conserve, time and time again, we have ballot measures in which there is no organized opposition. There's nobody raising $2 million to fight this thing on the ballot. And yet, if it goes and is allowed to stand, it will change Idaho in a very, very profound way. And within a short order, you will start to see a legislature that becomes a reflection of Montana and Washington and California because of the influence of money and the jury rigging of the electoral process.
Right. It will make the Democratic Party relevant, and we
absolutely.
And then, David, let's see if we can get you and I in trouble here. Why are some Republicans, and they haven't been as vocal as they have been in the past, maybe they're saving it for October for the ads that are going to come out. Why have some vocal Republicans said this is necessary because, quote, the Republican Party has gotten too mean?
Well, that's just that's just silly. The fact of the matter is that they are not getting their way. These are moderate Republicans, many of whom I think are actually Democrats in philosophy, if not allegiance, and they are perturbed by the conservative bent of this legislature and the work that's been done on fiscal issues and on cultural issues, and they're looking for a way back into the candy store to be able to run, the cash register, and this is the latest scheme they've come up with because they have been ineffective at competing for actual Republican votes in these districts. It's just that simple. The Democrats are the masters of changing the rules until the rules work for them. And that's exactly what is happening here. And I'm just praying that somehow, some way, we can organize enough voters and get enough information out there and raise enough money to educate people about the great con that it's about to go down here.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with you. So when we take a look at, we'll see if the Republican Party will get their act together on that one. Finally, back to this battle for abortion. They'll have the media. They'll have big money. Really, has Planned Parenthood been kicked out of the state?
Well, the fact is, for the last couple of years, I haven't really had much dealings with Planned Parenthood at the legislature. I kind of pine for the good old days when I was up against the actual abortion lobby. But the intense struggles that I'm dealing with are coming in the form of white coats and stethoscopes, where you have a substantial chunk in the medical community and the largest hospital system in Idaho incessantly demanding that abortion access be restored as a condition of good medicine. And I believe we are seeing a rise of pro-life and conservative medical providers, doctors, and nurses beginning to push back against that narrative, but it's been relentless. And it's very concerning because it's been driven by an ideology which says that abortion is health care. And I think there's been a lot of deception and misinformation out there I even think a lot of medical providers remain ignorant about what the Defense of Life Act is and what it allows and how to practice medicine consistent with the Hippocratic Oath. So that's my struggle these days, and I anticipate that it's going to be ongoing for the next couple of years. I think this next session is going to be very intense.
Let me jump in. Let me jump in for a second because I'm going to get religious on you. We know the stance of the Catholic Church, which thankfully continues to advocate for life. What is the status of the LDS Church when it comes to this?
Well, the fact is that the legislature, the LDS community, is the backbone of the pro-life movement at the Capitol building, and the church's teachings about the sanctity of life have really, emboldened many of those legislators, and they've been a tremendous asset in moving Idaho forward toward protecting life.
Yeah. Well, we're grateful for your friendship and safe travels, old friend. We'll catch you very soon.
Yeah, bless you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you. Our great friend, David Ripley, IdahoChoosesLife.org. KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us, whether you're listening in Idaho or listening to the podcast or listening wherever, we appreciate you. Also appreciate the work of the Daily Caller. And when she's not on Newsmax or everywhere else, she joins us now, Mary Rook. Mary, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I got to tell you, what's it like being on the Newsmax? I mean, I go, there's Mary, and there you are. How do you like that?
I always enjoy it. Carl always makes it a fun show. And the topics we talk about really affect, everybody's daily life. And especially if you have a family or if you're raising kids in this crazy society. So I always enjoy kind of touching on that kind of stuff.
Well, we appreciate that. We are going to talk about faith, family, and freedom in your new newsletter. But the Daily Caller has a new documentary out. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So the Daily Caller wanted to investigate the rising spike in squatters. So essentially what's been happening for the past several decades is that American property owners have been seeing, their rights being stripped away and instead being given to people that have illegally broken into their homes, taken advantage of squatters' rights laws in various different states, and have, taken essentially ownership without paying for anything of the home, whether it was, a renter that stopped paying their rent or someone that found an abandoned home or a home for sale on the market and just moved in themselves. They've used these local laws in order to allow, them to take ownership. And so what the Daily Caller did, our investigative team traveled from city to city speaking with homeowners who have fallen victim to squatters, and sometimes opportunists who prey on landlords' kindness or, one of the women in here, her mother was 80 years old, and these two men from a local restaurant, they were busboys, moved in, and it was right before COVID. So then when COVID hit, at first she thought, oh, this is such a great thing. I have these two men in here and they're taking care of my mother. And, at the time she was too scared to go see her mom because she had young kids and she didn't want to be giving her mother COVID. And, she was in her 80s and all of that fear mongering that went around. And so she thought, thank God I have these two men that are renting out this apartment next to my mother and, they can help her. Well, they ended up, defrauding her, taking money from her credit card, stopped paying rent. When the mother died, it was impossible to get them out. She ended up having to hire a lawyer. She was trying to sell the home. I mean, she just ran into so many issues, and she's not alone. There are, thousands of property owners across the United States who are using companies outside of the police force because most of the time when the police show up, they say this is actually a civil matter. We can't do anything about it, especially if the squatter is showing them some sort of fake or forged lease agreement. I mean, it was really eye-opening for me to watch how these people were able to, connect with other squatters, and they were teaching each other how to bypass our laws and how to be able to, essentially just erase property owner rights in the United States.
And it's going on and going on. Is this a Biden thing, or is there something else responsible?
No, it's been going on long before Biden was in office. This is something, originally we had, I think I can't remember the exact name of it, but we've had a law on the books in almost all of our, almost every state in the United States, where if there was an abandoned home, say like on the fringe of the city, where it was starting to become dilapidated or it needed upkeep and the property owners weren't doing it, you could move into that, make upkeeps, turn on the lights, clean out the yard, make sure that the structure stayed sound, and do all of these things. And after 10 or 15 years of staying in the residence, if the property owner never said anything, then you had a legal claim to say that you were the owner of the home. Now, on the other hand, these people are coming in to perfectly fine homes that have not been abandoned. They're either on the market for rental properties or they're on the market for, for being sold. And they move in. For example, there's a man that was featured on the news out in L.A. near Beverly Hills, and he moved into one of those massive mansions over there. And he was throwing massive parties, keeping all the residents up till 3 a.m., selling, tickets to the party essentially so that it could pay for the party and he could make money off of it. And there was nothing they could do. They sent the police force to the home. They said, this is a civil matter. You're going to have to go to the court system. But, of course, the court system takes forever, as with the woman who had the two men living with her mother, who is now deceased, found out the hard way. It takes years to get these people out of your home through the legal system. And, you're kind of stuck trying to prove that you are the owner and that these people are legally occupying the home. And in that time, they can stay there for free. You're required to do, upkeep. She was fined a huge fine because the men turned the water off and tried to claim that she turned the hot water off. I mean, it's just one disaster after another, and it's a really scary concept, being a property owner myself, thinking, okay, well, if you get into this rental type business where you own a home and you have a renter in there, and what happens, like in 2020, where the federal government just said you don't have to pay your rent, and property owners can't have any legal recourse to force you to pay it. And so, it's a scary idea in our country that says in this day and age, there's no one's coming to save you. You're essentially on your own. And we also document a rise in companies that come and help these property owners out, either by, evictions, cleaning out the homes, boarding them up to make them impossible for people to break into while they're on the market. It was a kind of a wild thing to follow. And I would really, kind of give props to our investigative team and our documentary crew, because it's a beautiful documentary. It captures you for the entire time. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long. And it really gives you so much information, and also kind of tugs at you where, you get worried about the state of all of this, and then you kind of want to be empowered to make a difference and make a change.
More coming up with Mary Rook next from the Daily Caller. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. I was talking about your Newsmax appearance, and it was amazing that you, Carl, and the Cowboy were talking about Harley Davidson. And that's really one of the importance of the Daily Caller, and that's why I pay to be a part of it. And I've always loved what you guys do. That you brought up this issue concerning Harley Davidson going woke, and then you had the Cowboy jump in and proving that I don't have a life, because I remember actually what happened about Bud Light and just these woke companies that pretty much forget who really funds them, which is the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's been the strangest part of all of these major corporations going woke, is that they've almost forgotten that, we are the force behind their profits. And so when you spit in the face of all of these people that have used your products, religiously for years and would swear by them and teach their kids about them. And, I have one of my friends, my husband and I, one of our friends from college is a Harley Davidson rider. And he's a Harley Davidson rider because his dad was a Harley Davidson rider and his grandfather was a Harley Davidson rider. And so, to see these three guys kind of go through this, I can't believe the people making my bikes hate me kind of process was really eye-opening for me. So I was glad to be on, Newsmax for that segment because it hit home for me, and and I know it hits home for a lot of people. Where, just regular everyday Americans just tired of seeing these woke corporations try and, best us with their might and power when in reality they get that might and power from us.
Well, and this comes back to your beat and your new newsletter, but never would we think in our world that we live in today, and it's certainly not the case, but the perception might be that a traditional family of a man, a woman, and kids is just plain weird. And it isn't, but that's the way they're programming our world to be. So you, as a wife, a mom, do you believe that your traditional American family valued lifestyle is an endangered species?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I see it just within our friend group. My husband and I was 22 when we were married. My husband was 24. Everyone looked at us like, we had three heads. What were we thinking? What were we doing? We're throwing our lives away. All of that kind of stuff. We're one of the rare millennials that just went for marriage right away. And it's been the best thing that's ever happened to us. Every positive thing that happens in our life, we've done it in service of our family. And I think that type of thought process is really rare now in my generation, even probably rarer. And when you look at Gen Z, and that is that thought process that built our country. It was the service of your family, of making sure that your legacy stayed intact and that you are an honorable member of society. And the family had a lot to do with that. And so I think the thing that I get most frustrated with whenever I'm talking to, other moms or, other parents at our girls' school is that, they'll say things like, oh, politics, they don't really mean anything. I'm not going to follow it. I have faith that, God's going to protect us. And while that is true, and you should have faith, especially if you're a believing Catholic or Christian, but whether or not you believe in politics, politics believes in you and is very much concerned in your daily life and is very much concerned in how you live your life. And so if the politics or fashion at the time doesn't, equate to what your moral beliefs are, they're going to try and make it extremely difficult for you to just sit back and live your life. And which is, kind of the point of my newsletter, hopefully, is to wake these parents up to realize that there is so much at stake if you sit out and ignore what the culture wars and ignore the politics of our society and what's going on, because, it's never been harder to raise a family than it is now.
Yeah.
My first newsletter was talking about cell phones and, the dangers of what that brings into our kids' lives. And I think that as a parent, you couldn't do a bigger disservice to your family than to set out and ignore what's going on in our political world.
Well, and then you have people, and even in Idaho, Mary, we experience it here on KIDO Talk Radio, where nobody wants to get involved. Nobody wants to be involved with politics because, it's controversial. And you're thinking, okay, if you peace out, then it's the government, it's the accountability that you deserve.
Yes, exactly. And so, I agree with that sentiment that you get what you get if you don't throw a fit kind of thing. And however, the people in our nation deserve so much better than what we have. We come from a long line of, hardworking Americans who built a country out of a wild wilderness. And I believe that we are owed our birthright, but at the same time, we have to pay for it every generation. Sometimes that means war. Sometimes that means culture war. And so right now we are in one of the biggest culture wars of since generations, I would argue since the sexual revolution. And so it's time for our generation of Americans to step up and pay their birthright and, kind of reclaim what it means to be an American and reclaim what it means to, lead a family through turmoil. And that's kind of where we are right now. And it's crazy to feel like you're in it. But at the same time, I feel blessed to be able to be a part of it in some way and hopefully make it easier for parents to understand and, stand up for their children.
Well, and again, as from one Catholic to another, sometimes it's a challenge whether you're in the Catholic Church or any Protestant church that the church goes woke.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the biggest realization for me as a Catholic is trying to sit back and disconnect the faith from the man. Sometimes I'm, disagree with Pope Francis on a lot of his decisions or who he brings to the Vatican, who he entertains, who he snubs, and especially when it comes to, say, his cracking down on the traditional Latin Mass and, these other decisions that he's made. However, we have a duty, just like we do in politics, to ensure that our faith lives on and that, it becomes, more than just the man. There's so much more behind it. So it makes me faithful or happy to see so many young Catholics kind of picking up that sword and continuing on the faith in such a traditional way and really promoting it in that way, because without new life coming in on the end, all the tradition dies out. And so, I've seen a resurgence in young Catholics, especially young Catholic women bailing at Mass and men bringing their young children and, kind of taking up that threshold. And so it makes me hopeful that despite the wokeness at maybe like the higher levels, there's still that young family that is going to Mass every Sunday and is teaching their children how to live a traditional life and, teaching their children about honor and responsibility.
Yes. And you'll catch that. Okay, so you alluded to your new newsletter, which is about faith and family. Actually, let me just ask you the dumb media question. Mary, what's your new newsletter about?
Well, we like to say that it's, a mother telling true stories about culture, politics, and motherhood, just trying to explain how all of those three things are connected, even though they seem so far apart from each other. And I essentially what I do is I talk about, things that have gone on in our family life and try and make them relatable to other people. For example, I talked about it earlier. My first newsletter that came out last Thursday, we discussed cell phones, which is obviously such a big thing in our society, and just the dangers behind them, and why we decided to say no to our kids when it came to cell phones, and kind of what they have to give up on their end as children not having them, but what it saves them from, and other friends of ours, and their decisions behind it, and all of those things. So next week, we should have another great newsletter coming out on Thursday, and you'll be able to find it every week at thegoodlife.dailycaller.com. And, I'm really excited about it. I think we had some really good momentum on the first week, and I think that it's going to be a success, and I think that it's going to be able to help a lot of parents who are a little bit lost. Like I said earlier, it's never been harder to raise children. It's also hard when you think you're the only one making these hard decisions, whether it's about technology or, whether it's about dating or how do you handle homework or how do you handle fights or parenting in general, all of these things. And then whenever you talk about the issues with why are you single as a woman? Should you be looking at marriage in your 20s, and what are the benefits behind that, and what's the point of a husband anyway? And these kinds of questions I hope to be able to answer for, young singles who are looking for a way out of this morally corrupt society.
Well, and as you said, Mary, to let them know they're not alone. Mary Rook, we appreciate you from the Daily Caller. You have a great day, ma'am.
All right, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Kevin.
All right, Mary Rook. Security guard Mike, who is securing the perimeter at the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. Now, Bo, I know you're like, Kevin, I don't want to do this, but see if you can see some balloons. I just left there. I want to thank our friends at CBS 2, Cap Ed Credit Union. We were doing some TV hits this morning, and my man, security guard Mike, is literally in the cold It has been since probably before 5 a.m., and we've been there from 5 to 8. The balloons are flying. It's really inspiring to see so many people. So get a chance, go out for free. Of course, tomorrow will be the Night Glow. We'll see you out there. And it was great to see our good friend Dr. Thomas as well. So it's just a wonderful event. It's great to be with you. Time to catch up on things. We got the Kamala speech tonight. Or I'm sorry, it's supposed to be an interview, but it's probably more like a speech. We will see what she has to say. We'll get your reaction tomorrow. Obviously, we'll take your phone calls nonstop at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And, as I was saying to Bo off the air, I am just so amazed by people that are, and no disrespect to anybody else, but that work outside. The idea that you're out there and in the cold and the wet, and you're going, Kevin, this is nothing. I understand, but to me, I'm just sitting there. My bones and joints are aching just for being out in the cold for literally 3 hours. Of course, I'm wearing my kickball uniform, long sleeve T-shirt and shorts, and that might explain why I'm still freezing. Let's go to Paulie in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Paulie. Thank you for calling in again. You called in earlier, and I wasn't here, but I am now, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps. Do you recognize that?
I don't. You're going to have to keep rolling.
Okay. Well, it was the beginning of the show Mission Impossible with Peter Graves and some various other actors. And it was a kind of an espionage show that happened during the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite popular in its time. Anyway.
I remember that. The tapes will burn up in a few seconds or whatever.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Now you're talking. Yeah. Did you have fun on the balloon? Did you get to go up, or did you have to wrangle it?
I was too big to go on a balloon. They said, well, we can put some strings attached to you and see if you'll float, Kevin Miller, but no luck.
That's good, Kevin.
Thank you, Paulie.
Yeah, good to hear your voice.
And
I
you.
did that one year. I went down there to watch the balloons take off. It was like total chaos, but it was controlled. And nobody got tangled with another one. And it was just fun to watch. But trying to get out of there, that was kind of a job in itself.
Oh, yeah.
After they gotten up in the air. So, anyway, I was going to talk about Joey. It's kind of fun to watch a man who's running as president, running for president again, to set course this country onto the very precipice of World War III, and then be unceremoniously thrown out of office by a group of people that they seem to think they know what was right for the country, so they voted him off the island. And so we saw him on the island before he left, and he was just soaking up the sun with his toes in the sand. And I could have sworn I saw Corn Pop in the distance walk up to him and kick sand in his face just like he did, 70 years ago or whatever it was.
Well, he's no Charles Atlas, but, you bring up a great point that here we are. They're not even lying to us, Paulie. What they're doing is they're just, the guy is at the guy is literally at the beach.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
I don't know if they're jumping on his lap right now, but you take a look at the president, and he's at the beach.
I think you should get the nearest officer over and investigate that. We're talking about Joey here. The man sniffed the kid's hair. Anyway, we wound up somehow, the world was spinning too fast or something, and Kamala got to sit in the president's seat, pretend-wise for right now. And that's the last person we need in there, pitching upon what what he stood for in the last 5 years and all that she said that she stood for. And now she's walking 90% of it back, only to become elected to lie at us and get elected and then to perpetrate every single thing that she said she was against. Again. That's what's going to come down. I just hope to God you guys know who to vote for.
Paulie, great call. You have a great day. You working today?
No, sir. I'm out with Bob Barker. We have to go visit a friend, a sick friend.
All right, Paulie. God bless you and your sick friend and Bob Barker.
Yeah, he'll bring him joy.
Well, you bring a lot of people joy, and you need to hear that.
I try to. There's no sense in being a curmudgeon. I'm not even old enough to be one, I don't think, but it's getting closer.
I am a curmudgeon, and I proudly out myself as a curmudgeon.
Well, I did want to thank you for professing your faith and keep up the good work in there. I'll talk to you about mine personally on another level sometime.
I look forward to it, Paulie.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, you have a blessed day. God bless you, Jeff.
You bless our day. God bless Paulie. By the way, one thing about being a curmudgeon is you're never disappointed. And that doesn't mean that you're wrong. You can just sit there and go, okay, Kamala is not fit to be president. Well, you're a curmudgeon. Well, it doesn't mean I'm wrong. Doesn't mean I'm wrong indeed. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm just wary of people that are overly optimistic. The difference between an optimist and a pessimist is this. A pessimist is always is never disappointed, because if something bad doesn't happen, then it's great. Now, an optimist, you look at everything as sunny and rosy, and how do you explain when sunny and rosy just doesn't happen? How do you explain that? It's called disappointment. Being a pessimist, being a curmudgeon, you're never, ever disappointed. Never disappointed. And that's where we are. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Mill in the morning as we roll along. Do appreciate everybody being here with us. And like I said, we're just happy to be back. An interesting day as we talk a little bit more. I want to say this. Do we have this thing, Sweet William? I think I looked at it. Before we get back to politics, and there's a lot of politics to get to, there was a really amazing event that happened with our friends at Camp Rainbow Gold. And, yeah, we want to thank Rob with Treasure Valley Subaru for giving them that Subaru. We want to thank all the folks that went up to Camp Rainbow Gold and actually built some camps. And it really didn't get a lot of news coverage here. Sure, some people tried, but, again, we don't have the resources. You can have resources for Live After 5 and Flip and Flap and Dip and Dap and all sorts of things. However, when you talk about changing the world and changing lives, and our friend Jonathan Savage, he loves this pro wrestling company called All Elite Wrestling, and part of their moniker was change the world, and obviously we cover politics. By the way, Riley Gaines with Governor Little yesterday. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. Riley Gaines and Governor Little and the smackdown and all the little liberal media people. How are they going to cover the fact that Idaho says no more boys playing with girls? No more boys playing with girls. Bad boys playing with girls. Nope. It ain't going to happen in Idaho. Idaho, the first in the nation state to have the law. Idaho, the one that says no. And like him or not, Governor Little is the guy that signed it, whether you're a bougie or a ham and egger.
Yeah, I'm a ham and egger.
Aren't we all a ham and egger?
Yeah, I'm a ham and egger.
And my man Eric and Cuna, sometimes you have to push the right button.
You really just push the right button, my friend.
Oh, Tea Party Bob he's angry about that one.
The Idaho.
Exactly. There's the Idaho Today, which you can catch at 5 o'clock, the Ag Power Hour. However, Governor Little signing that legislation. We're going to talk about that and get your thoughts at Idaho, not California, not New York, not any other place, saying we are not allowing the boys pretending to be girls or transitioning to be girls to play with the girls. We are protecting the women. And by the way, as our friend Tone Loke would say, this is the 80s, and Idaho is down with the ladies. So we'll talk about that, and can't wait to hear what you have to say at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. As I said before, Bo, do you see any balloons at all? Did you look at all? Good for you, Bo. Thank you, Bo. Appreciate that. I think we've lost Sweet William. He is on the roof of the George Armstrong Custer building as he is looking for the balloons over Boise. And like we said, you can talk Albuquerque, you can talk California, but right here, a free event that does so much. And by the way, thank you very much. We have this queued up, and we will get to it in 2 seconds. And I'm a little herky-jerky, but we have a lot to talk about. Is your power out in Boise? What the part? Can I swear for a minute? Thank you. What the hell is going on in Boise? Power outages again? Now, thankfully, we have the generator working at the broadcast facility. Why in the world does the power keep going out in Boise? Now, maybe Mayor McLean should give a call to Idaho Power. It is unacceptable. That is working on that. Yes, like I said that. Yes, like I said, pessimist is never disappointed. I appreciate that. Thank you, mystery leader who has me tongue-tied, listener. Let's get back to this, though. What about the power outage in Boise? We'll talk a little bit about that. But first, from CBS News, the giant CBS News, talked about our friends at Camp Rainbow Gold. This is really a great story. And we are proud at KIDO Talk Radio to partner with these guys. And look, they have a lot of media partners. They've got Cord Barton Homes, as Mickey Ray used to talk about, and others, Treasure Valley Subaru, all the other folks. But this is a really great story that they get this recognition. Hopefully it will help those kids with cancer. And we're going to have that for you in a second as the computer warms up at 580. Here we go. Heart of America. Think about this.
Finally, another year of summer camps have come and gone, but in tonight's Heart of America, we want to highlight a special place in Idaho where all kids can have fun in the sun no matter their medical conditions. CEO Elizabeth Lisberg explains Camp Rainbow Gold.
What we witness is magical. It's love made visible. Camp Rainbow Gold is a nonprofit here in Idaho that supports children that have been diagnosed with cancer and their families. It's a place that they get to come and they don't have to say a word and they're understood. We have been, until very recently, having to turn kids away due to capacity issues. And just recently, we got to experience contractors coming together. A local builder came out and built 6 more cabins for us in 3 days. So we now no longer have to turn away kids. So it's so much more than just coming and having fun. We do it through fun. But the value of these kids coming to camp is that acceptance and that opportunity to just be a kid.
Always thinking about kids and cancer. The kids and the staff at Camp Rainbow Gold are tonight's Heart of America.
Boy. So if you're going through tough times, if you're one of the people in Boise without power, how can you not be inspired by that? How can you not be inspired by those folks putting that together? Anyway, a note of inspiration this morning. We're going to talk about the power outage in Boise, Walls, Kamala, you name it. We're rolling. So blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget, Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic going on, as Dave Burnett said. Watch out for the balloons. We love the balloons. Join us Friday night for the Night Glow. And again, thanks to Cap Ed Credit Union, Town Square Media, our friends at CBS 2 for making that happen, and for you for making that happen, for listening to this great radio station. To the Vandals, they're going to be playing Oregon this week, and then Boise State will be playing Oregon next week. Boise State plays Georgia Southern. We have a complete preview for it. The Boise State Georgia Southern game on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. It's so funny. The balloons are still in my head, but this is really, it's funny. Sometimes we all get cynical because we do so many events, but the balloons over Boise, just great. Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. I do want to thank, again, our team here at Town Square Media, and I want to thank 2 people that are no longer with us. And that is Scott Spencer. And really the entire title is the Scott Spencer Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. And Mr. Spencer was someone who loved what he did. And Mr. Spencer, I can remember when he was fighting the illness that took his life, he goes, Kev, I don't know how much longer I got. And stupid Kev was like, young and going, oh, okay. And now stupid Kev is old Kev. And, you realize just how many more of these do we have? Hopefully a lot more. And Scott Spencer traveled the world with his beautiful wife, Lori. Scott Spencer and Lori were, they were ambassadors. They were evangelists. Thank you, sweet William, for ballooning. And you're going to go, ballooning, what's that? Dude, everybody is like a little kid. And to see that there and to know that it is here in Boise, Idaho, and props to the city of Boise for making that happen as well, for working with us. I think whether we're conservatives or liberals, we can all come together for a unifying event. And Mr. Spencer, again, worked in quiet anonymity until he was on the balloons, until he was flying over China or the Super Bowl. And he could have taken that thing anywhere, but he kept it here. Now, it's like our friend Nathan Barry with ConvertKit, now Kit. He could move his headquarters to San Francisco and fit in with everybody, but he keeps it here in Boise. And those people should be honored for what they do. And I go, again, our beloved Larry Gebert. It is fascinating, the power of people. And I understand that we have Netflix now, we have algorithms, and local TV, like local radio, is challenging. But you don't know the impact of someone who literally at 6'6" is larger than life and, just elevates the game so much. And I'm out there hanging out, and, I've worked behind the scenes. I've worked with Big Jim, the announcer, and all sorts of things. And I just remember Larry, and let's not forget Teresa, the camera lady, Teresa Palgrim. They had such a charismatic era. And even when Channel 7 decided to piece out of the Balloon Classic and Channel 2 took over, Larry was still there. I mean, Larry going, if someone comes up to me, I'm going to get him. Larry, you're always welcome. And then you see people that are, taking the spot. You got the Channel 6 people that try, and the Channel 7 people that, it's just not the same without the big man. And it wasn't just his physical presence, but that he made it about everybody but himself. That was the magic of Larry. And I just was sitting there looking at, hopefully, that Larry and Scott were checking out the balloons. And I go, for people that are listening on the podcast or whatever, Kevin, you just did an interview with the Daily Caller. Kevin, you had Theo Wold on, who's one of the foremost experts on just about anything from the Trump White House. And now you're talking about balloons. That's the magic of Idaho. That's the magic of the area of the country that we're so blessed to call home. And just to share that with you. And like I said, I am the most cynical person, the most pessimistic person, the most curmudgeon-y person you'll ever meet. I could not do music radio because music radio is like, hey, how you doing, everybody? Let's go. Kevin, hey, man. But, and I'm sitting there looking at everybody coming up. It's still dark. And I go, what are these people doing in their right mind? And then when you see the balloons at Ann Morrison Park, I go, oh, yeah, I get it. So if you're looking for something fun, free to do, every morning they have coffee there. They have shirts you can buy, all sorts of things. And it's just really, it gives you hope. And I think we need that today, especially when we're talking about things politically. Coming up, I want to talk about what happened. I want to share with you what happened at Arlington National Cemetery. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you, like me, have seen the pictures of it. And we've shared pictures of our time in Arlington because when we go places, we take you with us and we put them on our website and the app, KIDOTalkRadio.com. But there's a big controversy going on at Arlington. And our friends at the Daily Caller that I'd like to say that we're affiliated with, which means I subscribe, so I pay to have them on. I pay not to have them on, but I pay a subscription fee to have them on. Have to clarify these days. However, as a paid subscriber, I watch their stuff, and they've come up with another take that surprisingly no major media has picked up on. But you're going to want to know about this. You're going to want to know what really happened at Arlington National Cemetery that the media continues to ignore, which is, again, this is why we have he should be a correspondent for the Gateway Pundit, our friend Mark, the Watchdog of Eagle. And the reason why I shout out to Mark, the Watchdog of Eagle, I want to see if he's listening or if he just calls in to give us the daily or the post-millennial Gateway Pundit report. We appreciate that because I can't catch everything. So we appreciate that. However, this is a story that no one no one is bringing up. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Speaking of working for you, did you know it's Labor Day weekend already? Yeah, where'd the summer go? I'm thankful the summer's over because now it gets dark at a reasonable hour. But the biggest car sale in the Valley is back for Labor Day. That's right, Aaron and Joel, Team Mazda, they've got the $5 car sale at the old Kmart in Nampa. Buy new or buy used with only $5 down. And you're going to go, yeah, what, I got a payment next week? No payments for 5 months. What do they got, 20 cars? No, 151 new Mazdas and 122 pre-owned vehicles. All you need for the down payment is 5 bones, 5 simoleons, $5. Aaron and Joel have lenders lined up and ready to approve financing with only $5 down during the 5 days of this sale, through Thursday through Monday. Want more? Okay, they'll include a $1,000 Visa gift card with your new car, and you can't beat this deal. A new car for $5 down. A new car for $5 down. No car payments until 2025, and get a $1,000 Visa gift card with your new car. Bring $5 out to the old Kmart in Nampa at the corner of Karcher and the Boulevard, where Team has relocated hundreds of vehicles to the parking lot for this sale. Look for the big white tent. Buy a car with only $5 down. Aaron and Joel, Team Mazda. Please tell them Kevin Miller, otherwise known as K Millie, sent you. Time for traffic and weather together. Weather, Dave will tell you who it's brought by. News, Fox News, brought to you by our friends at Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking, call Beacon today. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio, traffic now as you're coming out of Candy County into Ada County. We're looking good. It does slow down for you in the Meridian area. We have an accident right at the overpass on Meridian Road going eastbound. No blockage right now. Watch the bumper in front of you, not the balloons in the sky. Get paid to bank when you open a new checking account at Horizon Credit Union. Put some extra cash in your pocket. Visit hzcu.org/getpaid to find out how. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's why they call it the Clay and Buck Show. If something big happens, and usually it does in the world that we live in today, we want to make sure that you are never out of touch. You know, it's great that you have the phone and the KIDO Talk Radio app, but if you're listening on the radio, if you haven't loaded up your CarPlay or whatever, it's great that you do this. By the way, again, our sheer thanks to folks from MAV Security who are working there now. Security guard Mike, a young lady that I met that listens to the program. The other guy, he didn't, so I really didn't talk to him. But the hardworking people that make America as great as it is, we so appreciate you. And we're rolling now. Don't forget, tomorrow we will be at the Night Glow. You'll see me running around. I'll be the guy that has a big protruding physique/waistline, probably, very, very short legs, short arms, and looking like a hippie. And I'm proud of my appearance. I'll be walking around with a young man who is clean cut, and he works for another radio station. His name's Mateo from 103.3, 103.5. I don't know. It's the station where they go, anyway, they don't play Steely Dan on that station. But we hope to see you at the Night Glow. And we want to welcome all the balloon people, all the ballooners in from out of state. It is getting crazy. And wait till you hear the story from the Daily Caller here on KIDO Talk Radio. But first, people are getting mad. And, Donald Trump is suing George Stephanopoulos. Now it looks like we're going to have somebody from MSNBC suing Corey Lewandowski.
I gave you time. I didn't lead with this. I gave you time to talk about 2024. You got that time, and this is now your chance to address this, and you're not addressing it. That's fine.
Ari, you're not
people can read that for themselves.
You're not addressing.
You want me to respond to you now? We're at the end of the interview. You want me to respond to that?
Okay.
I'd be happy to, since we're on live air. I'm gonna respond to you on live air. I quoted a New York Times article that said, at the convention, Donald Trump was his own biggest prop. It was a New York Times quote about how he had become such an important figure in rebounding from what was a horrific assassination attempt. Fox News, which Corey, I said I'd address it. I'm going to finish. Fox News, many viewers may not know about this, but apparently you do, and some do. Fox News, which has been caught in defamation, ran a false piece falsely stating that I said something else that I didn't say. So I stand on that. I stand on the New York Times
quote.
So
you didn't say this bandage was a prop, a spectacle from a candidate who was obsessed with spectacles.
Mr. Lewandowski, I did not say that. That is a false quote.
Right here. It's clear.
What you have is a false quote.
What
you have is a false quote. And I'm putting you on notice. If you continue to repeat falsely, that I said that, you will be potentially in a defamation situation because I didn't say that. But I understand that you're working off the internet, which is a lot of false information.
This is what it says
I wish you luck with that. And Corey Lewandowski, we gave you time.
So you
I
would
appreciate you
apologize
coming
to the
on.
president for that.
Thank you for joining me. Corey Lewandowski, Trump 2024.
Boy, and you're going to go, Kevin Miller, why are you playing this clip? Well, Corey Lewandowski is one of those rare people. And like a lot of people think that I'm this type of person. It's certainly not about me, but I do have a natural tendency to get under people's skin. Like from Pat from Middleton, he's the only guy I've ever known that could get under my skin. The only guy that could get under his skin is our friend Tom Munz, TomMunz.com, MunzTom Twitter. That's his name. It's not Tom Munz, it's MunzTom Twitter. But so Corey Lewandowski is saying that this guy, Ari, whatever his name is, said something about Donald Trump. And that's why you have to be careful. You have to be careful. And I talk with our friend from New Meadows about this all the time. Just because somebody says this, and we have people calling in all the time, you got to have that proper attribution. One of the reasons why Tucker Carlson got into trouble is he would quote rebel news or such and such news or something other news. You got to be careful in this gilded age of litigation because we're better than that. The left, they're not better than that. They're not better than that, unfortunately. By the way, let me tell you this story. So we don't know what really happened at Arlington. Apparently, there was some physicality between somebody at Arlington and the Trump people because the president was going to see the graves of the 13 that died, that were killed, that were murdered at Abbey Gate. And the guy at Arlington said, you can't do this. And they had permission. But regardless of that one, Joe Biden, the height of arrogance. What drives us crazy is when we're not heard. Just hear what I have to say and pretend that you're listening. But when people are marginalized, they get very upset. I saw the image yesterday of Joe without his shirt on, looking for cornroll at the beach. Could you imagine? We all have those annoying relatives or those annoying friends. Heck, that's probably me, the annoying one. And you had to spend 10 hours at the beach with Biden. To you, my friend, that is working in the cold, to my boy security guard Mike that is working in the cold, Joe Biden, and I'm sorry to get a little this way, is spitting in the face of every hardworking tax-paying American. A 22-day vacation. What they're saying is he's that much of a bumbling, babbling embarrassment that they just set him off to pasture. They might as well run him off to the wild horses in Oregon or North Carolina or wherever and just set him loose. And we're paying for this guy? Of course, we might as well keep him there because he's going to get his pension, unlike most of us that'll work till we can't anymore. And then they'll put us in a home if we're lucky and wheel us around as the drool comes out. I already have a bleak picture of my future. However, think about that. And here we have the Biden administration that was preventing the president from honoring the folks at Abbey Gate. We have Kamala. We have people getting fired for not pronouncing her name correctly. We have some guy yelling at me because I call her Kamala or whatever. And she didn't show up at Arlington. She's the last person in the room. Are you kidding me? Speaker of the House, from our friends at the Daily Caller. This is how bad it is. This is how disappointing it is. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson had to intervene to get former President Donald Trump into Arlington National Cemetery for the third anniversary of the Afghanistan withdrawal with Gold Star families. By the way, Gold Star families, they're the ones that have lost loved ones, if you don't know that, in combat or in war or in the military. The Gold Star families who lost their children during the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan invited Trump to Arlington National Cemetery. He laid a wreath there for the 13 service members who were killed serving their country in Afghanistan. However, a Gold Star family told the caller that Arlington National Cemetery was trying to make it difficult for the former president to appear for the ceremony to honor their children, something the families had requested. Are you kidding me? And I think one of the reasons why Mr. Bongino is so popular is his podcast. He swears. I could see why somebody would swear reading the stories. Are you bleeping kidding me? Arlington National Cemetery told Gold Star families that they could only be there for a specific time that did not work for everyone's schedule, and were also told the president could not join them at their children's grave sites, the family told the caller. How was this resolved? Hang on, we'll tell you about that in a minute. Ron Grant joins us now. Good morning, Ron.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
How are we doing today?
Good, Ron. We're always looking at the roller coaster world, the casino. When it comes to our money, how do we get off that wild ride and keep our money safe?
And you know what? That's important, Kevin, because you worked hard for your money. You want to retire. You want to have money in retirement to take care of yourself and your family. You know, I provide for my clients a lifetime of security thanks to a lifetime of income that traditional retirement plans like the 401ks and the 403bs, et cetera, just don't offer. It's important to have an income stream, Kevin, in retirement that's not in the Wall Street casino, the risk and the fees that can eat up your returns. And, you know, if you're over 50, stop chasing returns. Worry about getting a lifetime income that provides for you and your family. And then when you've passed away, of course, whatever's left will go to your family. It's important, very important.
Ron, if people want some information from you, what can they do?
Got a great educational website that I put together that has information. It's got articles on it that they can read. There's videos there that they can take a look at. There's even a book that they can download, 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income. And then they can email me from the site. It's safermoneyspecialist.com. Or let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley, 208-660-1372.
Ron, we appreciate that. You have a great day.
You too, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
All right. Appreciate that. Let's get back to the story. So here we are hanging out, and nobody is honoring these families. You know, years ago, our friend, retired Army General Gayhart, loved General Gayhart, was such a cool dude, still is. He's enjoying himself. I think he's still traveling the country, but still lives in Idaho. General Gayhart, Lori Otter, Butch Otter, I'm sure several other people got together, and they created the 9/11 Memorial in Idaho. You know there is one? It's for those people that died that were native-born Idahoans in the War on Terror. Thankfully, I don't think we've added many names lately because we're not at war, but we still have people deployed like the folks from the Guard that just left. Thankfully, and what a journey that was. Every week we would have those people on. God bless them for that long deployment. The second one, not the first one, which they just celebrated an anniversary of. You talk about just brave people. God bless them. And it took the work of General Gayhart, Lori Otter, Butch Otter, and so many others to make that happen. And it's right in front of the old State House. It's the old, now it's the old Ada County Courthouse, right next to the State House. And I think it's the Idaho School of Law now, but one of many. But imagine not being able to attend that ceremony. Every year at September 11th, they used to read the names. But Arlington, telling the families they couldn't go and the president couldn't go. So what happened was the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Mike McCall, explained to the caller that he was contacted by Gold Star parents Darren Hoover and Kelly Barnett, the parents of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover. Hoover and Barnett told him that Arlington Cemetery was giving the Gold Star parents of the U.S. servicemen killed at Abbey Gate a hard time about coordinating ceremony with President Trump on the anniversary of the deaths. Are you kidding me? Are you flipping kidding me on this? McCall immediately reached out to Speaker Johnson, asked for his assistance with the matter, and the caller is told he continued to track it until it was fixed. Can you, I mean, what are we doing here? What is going on with Arlington? Quote, our office worked with Arlington National Cemetery to move the time of the event to a time that would accommodate the attendance of President Trump. This was done at the request of the families to this office as they were not receiving the assistance from Arlington National Cemetery. Two anonymous sources told the Daily Caller. Another source familiar with the conversation between the Gold Star families and Arlington said after Johnson's phone call, the entire situation changed. Imagine that. The Speaker of the House calls them up and says, what the heck are you doing? And now all we're hearing about at Arlington is some alleged scuffle. By the way, Arlington cemetery officials claim the families didn't want any media photography or videography at Section 60, contradicting what the families had actually requested. The families were fine with the media designated by the Trump team, but Arlington kept pushing back, obstructing the process. So here we have somebody, apparently we don't know if they're deranged or not, going after the Trump team for following Arlington's thing. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. When we're talking lawfare, when we're talking the campaign, when we're talking about the lies, the deceit of the media. We're going to talk more about that coming up. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Any predictions tonight for the big, not debate, not speech, but interview with Kamala and Tim Walz and Dana Bash?
Can't she do this alone?
Oh, that's simple. She's afraid. You cannot find a single one-on-one interview with a journalist where she's able to articulate a viewpoint. She has no moral compass as to her policies. So she needs a helper. She needs a lifeline. She needs a backup plan. And that's why Tim Walz is there. Because if Dana Bash does her job, Stu, she has an inventory of video and audio that identify Kamala Harris as a socialist. So the Democrats, the DNC, do not trust Kamala Harris, so they brought in backup, and that's the VP.
That won't work. That won't work with voters if it's perceived that she needs help and she doesn't know what she's doing in terms of policy. Won't work.
I agree with you. And you can have Donald Trump. Donald Trump will sit by without any notes for hours, go one-on-one. Kamala Harris is a weak candidate. The American public knows that. And Dana Bash, if she does her job, will expose that. She has no compass as to what her policies are.
We love Leo 2.0. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll have complete coverage of Kamala and Tim Walz and everybody else. Yes, I know it's Walz, and I know it's Kamala or Kamala. I'm sorry, I'm overthinking it. I just don't have the pronunciation skills. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Again, Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic, seeing the balloons. Like I said, you're smart people. Don't be a dope and watch the balloons and then get into a Greg Ferrer. You know, we love Greg Ferrer and everything else, but bottom line is we don't want you to have an one more thing, back to this Harris thing. I think the media might be falling into a trap, and the trap is that people are thinking that she's a dummy. And when you have somebody who we underestimate, the fact that she shows up and doesn't give a soup salad means that she wins. So I would be very careful about that. She was a horrible candidate. But remember what she did to Joe Biden. And Biden allowed her to do this. And it's the whole thing of, well, I don't want to talk over her because she's female. I know a lot of people at home going, I wish my husband or I wish the people at work had the same respect for women that Joe Biden did. But, I mean, she talked over him. She ran over him. And as I said to Jared Halpern yesterday, we could possibly see this again. Also coming up, our friends from Camp Rainbow Gold will join us, talk a little bit about that amazing story that made CBS News about just what happened in Idaho, and just a remarkable story. Our friend Lonnie will join us from Camp Rainbow Gold coming up. We do appreciate that. By the way, we always want to make sure that we support our great friends who support this radio show, and that's our friends at Treasure Valley Subaru. Sure, they do funny videos. Sure, they do a lot of things, but they sell Subarus as well, and they do a very good job at it. Let me tell you about our friends Rob and the crew. And by the way, Ben and Juan in the service department, they've bailed me out several times. In fact, there's one time where I couldn't even figure out how to, put in my headlight, and they helped me with it. When I went to another place, they go, yeah, it'll be a 3-hour wait. And I go, are you kidding me? Remember, everybody, this weekend is Labor Day, and while lots of businesses are having Labor Day weekend sales, dog-loving Treasure Valley Subaru is having a Labrador weekend sale. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I knew this is a weekend sale with the lowest rates of the year. How about this? A new Subaru starting at 0% for 72 months. Ooh, hey now. Or if you want to buy used, CapEd Credit Union will lower your interest rate by 1% for your approved rate. Only at Treasure Valley Subaru this weekend, 0% for 72 months on new Subarus, 1% rate reduction on all pre-owned. Makes you want to go buy a new Ascent or a Outback or something like that when you think about that. Ooh, it's free money. I know there are a lot of people wondering if this is the time to buy a new car. Yes, yes, yes. You can buy when interest rates are low, and they won't get any lower this year than they are now at Treasure Valley Subaru this weekend. One more time, 0% for 72 months on new Subarus and 1% rate reduction on all pre-owned. Treasure Valley Subaru and the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore together on one giant lot at the Idaho Center Auto Mall and at TreasureValleySubaru.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Another look at traffic, KIDO Talk Radio Traffic with our friend Dave Burnett. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio, traffic down the freeway looking better now, not nearly as congested as we had earlier. Warm Springs detours up from Avenue C out to the old Penitentiary Road as they continue to work that project. If you have leaks, clogs, or other plumbing issues, Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air can handle your plumbing needs. Big or small, serving Treasure Valley since 1984. Call or visit perfectnow.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave. Again, coming up, our friends at Camp Rainbow Gold. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you were listening earlier, I threw you off a little. We did 2 hours at the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. Thanks again to our friends at Cap Ed Credit Union, CBS 2, Town Square Media, KIDO Talk Radio, and, of course, the staff and volunteers, and our friend, Security Guard Mike at MAP Security, and the nice young lady that was there as well who listens to the program. So we appreciate everybody. It is a team effort here in Idaho, and like I said, we appreciate that. Back to that story, though, concerning Arlington National Cemetery. Is there nothing sacred in their war against our beloved President Donald Trump? You're not going to be allowed to go to Arlington. You're not going to be allowed to go and help these families. Okay, let's say Joe Biden's there. All right, I understand that. He's at the beach. Let's say the vice president, she's the last in the room. She's not going to be there. And you're going to give the president a hard time. And once again, whether you're down with the all-knowing, all-informing Republican House, thank goodness we had a Speaker of the House there named Mike Johnson. Do you think Hakeem Jeffries would have allowed that to happen? Do you think Nancy Pelosi, when she's not wearing her bikini, would have allowed that to happen? I mean, think about that. Nancy Pelosi in a bikini. She wouldn't have allowed President Trump to be there. And all they're doing is honoring these families. Now, sure, you could say it's for the media, but nobody else is doing it. Nobody likes to be left alone. Nobody likes to be left behind. Hey, I've only got 30 seconds. You're on the air. Do you want to hold or what do you want to say? Are you still working? Okay, I was a little too quick for him. That is Security Guard Mike. He is guarding the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. We will get to him in a minute. He's so busy listening, he's not listening. God bless. Kevin Miller, stay with us. Boise Balloon Classic going on. Hope to see you there tomorrow night for the Night Glow. Right now, out to our friend Security Guard Mike, who actually is doing the security there right now. Hello, Security Guard Mike.
Hi, Kevin Miller. It was great seeing you this morning, bright and early. You're all bright and cheery this morning. It was awesome seeing you. You're wonderful. You always give a good spark of inspiration to everybody. You're out there doing a great job, as you always do. And I just want to say thank you to Town Square Media and to KIDO for helping put this on. It was a wonderful time, and all the kids, the little kids, to see the joy on the little kids' faces, our future, and let's hope we give them a future in November 5th. Let's hope we give them a great future and not something where they're going to be having to struggle and have to not be able to come to a Boise Balloon Classic like we have every year. We want it to keep on going. We love you, Kevin Miller, and thank you very much. You're the greatest, and we love helping you guys out over there. And everybody was awesome today. Boise, Idaho people are the greatest. And Kevin Miller, you're the bomb. We love you.
We love you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you very much. Stay warm, Security Guard Mike. Joining us now is our friend Lonnie from Camp Rainbow Gold. Hello, Lonnie.
Hi, Kevin. Yes, you are the bomb. Everyone loves you.
Well, thank you for that. But and I appreciate you and all that you and the folks at Camp Rainbow Gold do. And I was looking on social media. You guys are everywhere, including CBS News. This is an incredible story that you've been talking about for years. It has happened, and now you have national coverage. Can you tell us the details?
Yeah, it just, we feel very, very blessed to have the national spotlight here on Idaho. I used to be in television news, and lo and behold, my old photographer from Phoenix and LA is now one of the main editors in the LA bureau for CBS Evening News. And I sent him kind of the information about the CBH homes build in 3 days, and expanded on all the people in this community that are coming forward to help us so much, and the magic that's happening up there in the hills outside Fairfield for the kids. And he loved it. He's an amputee. He lost his leg doing a story when we were in Phoenix together, and we are doing an amputee camp up at Hidden Paradise, and so it just struck a chord with him, and so he became our advocate and pushed it to the powers that be in what they call the fishbowl back in New York. And heaven knows we all needed some positive, good news on the news these days. And they bit, and we taped the story. They did an interview with my boss, Elizabeth Lisberg, and we got them video from the big build up there with CBH Homes, and they put it together, but we kept getting bumped due to Olympics coverage and Democratic National Convention coverage. So they called us Tuesday and said, hey, it's on the slot for tonight, and it's airing, and it did. And we have just loved watching all the comments come in from former campers and volunteers from around the country that saw it.
Well, Lonnie, and you bring up such a great point that hopefully the message of Camp Rainbow Gold will help others that are going through tough times, whether it's kids, whether it's adults. But then the story, and I marvel at you, and I say this in a respectful way, I marvel at you people how for years the camp didn't have a permanent home. You had that uncertainty, and it's just not like you can throw a camp up everywhere, but there had to be specific medical guidelines. And Camp Rainbow Gold was not allowed to die. It finally found a permanent home thanks to, all the people that work behind the scenes to make that happen, people that donate time, effort, and energy, and, you and your little city that you guys just created over the summer.
Yeah. Well, you had the bravery to drive up those roads and go see it. And I still feel badly that I wasn't there to give you a tour. But, yeah, it's amazing. We are so excited because we have a lot of the same kids come to camp year after year. And every time they go up there now, there's going to be something new and exciting. We had our kids' cancer camps, our youth cancer camp, our teen cancer camp, and our siblings, all the brothers and sisters, get their own camp. And those were held for 3 weeks in June. And when they went up there were 6 new cabins, a new medical center, and a new amphitheater. And now, just since they left in June, we have another 6 cabins. We have an equestrian area. We will have 2 sports courts and a playground finished by the end of September. It's crazy.
It's crazy, but and again, you used to be in TV news, so you know all about being a cynic. But the idea that millions of dollars can be donated, and I go back to, and I say this, as a compliment, you and those crazy people, you had like people living up there, and instead of enjoying their vacation, they were framing. And again, I'm a sissy, so I mean that little dirt road on our little station vehicle, but I can't imagine the dirt road in with all these big, strong, big vehicles and foundations. Amazing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot in my 58 years, but I have never experienced anything like that week we had the first week of August. We were, I think we told you, we were serving 800 meals a day to volunteers. We were going through pallets of Red Bull and water and thousands of cans of soda pop. And these were folks up there. I mean, I can sit here for hours and tell you, but the people who own Greylock, if you were at, I think it's at Highway 16 and Chinden, I believe, there's that new big building that went up, and it's a robotics cabinetry company. They make cabinets for all over the country. The owners of that came up and cooked meals for 5 days straight. and donated their time and their money to buy the food. And they were sending employees and sisters and son-in-laws to Mountain Home to, buy out the Walmart and buy out everything they could, because we had so many volunteers showing up and so many people staying up on site to get those cabins built. And not only did they build those cabins, they built, they put in these beautiful, the masons put in these beautiful rock fire circles, fire pits, and they put in a hammock village, and they stocked our pond with fresh rainbow trout, and all these things that they did above and beyond building those cabins, because so many people came forward and wanted to volunteer. And in fact, for the next month, will be writing thank you notes, because it just has been so overwhelmingly beautiful to see the people come together in this community for the kids.
No, and you're right about, and by the way, Greylock is that facility. If you're going into Star, you see it right there, that futuristic thing with the green big sign, and those folks are amazing. But you think that here you have people in Star doing this, and it's just from Star to all over, and then of course Corey Barton Homes, and the anonymous people that maybe they have their own business, maybe they're a mason or what have you, as you said, Lonnie, to come up there and they were happy to do it and happy to work. Again, it's a little cooler where you are, but still long, physical, hot days.
Oh, we were putting in 18-hour days. 18-hour days. I mean, you'd go to bed so bone-tired, exhausted, and then wake up, it seemed like an hour later to start over again. But every bit of it was so worth it. It was so worth it. It was such a neat experience, just to be surrounded by such good people. And I will tell you, they always had smiles on their faces. They were just happy to be there, happy to give, happy to serve.
Yeah. Have you heard from other groups? Because, again, you guys always share that facility with other folks as far as being able to help them or give them a guideline on what they can do to make a difference in the lives of folks that, really need some encouragement and obviously need a hug and to make a difference. Just those simple things of going for a hike that we all take for granted means so much.
Yeah, I think I'd have to look at the schedule, but I know we have another group coming up, I want to say in about a week or 2 weeks, and it's a group called Sunrise Retreats, and it's all widows, and they bring up a group of, maybe 25 recent widows, and they do yoga, they do hiking in the hills, they do cooking, they do artwork, they just bond and heal. And so this place, Hidden Paradise, has become home not only for Camp Rainbow Gold and for our children and families healing and battling pediatric cancer, but it's also become home for so many others. And that's one perfect example.
Lonnie, anything else you'd like to share? Sorry for getting you on such short notice, but like everything, I saw this on social media. I go, man, this is so huge. We played it for everybody last hour. It's and thank you for your work on this. You're always promoting, you're always doing this, and we never thank the people that do the most. So thank you for your help. And again, it's a lot that you bring to the table. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kevin. You have been our biggest cheerleader, and we appreciate you so much. That's why we'll bend over backwards to come and talk with you and your friends every morning.
Well, that's what we love about. I mean, look, we got to get the word out.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about how much we've done and how the landscape up there has just changed dramatically in a year. But we still have some pretty heavy lifting to do. I think we talked about it before. Our biggest challenge right now, we have the heads and beds. We have the place to have everybody sleep. We're not going to have to turn away children and families anymore. But our big challenge is feeding them. We're working out of a tiny, tiny Band-Aid kitchen, commercial kitchen, and a dining room, outdoor dining room, because there's no place we have to have everybody inside. So on a crisp, cold morning, like I'm sure it is up there this morning, if we had camp, we'd have kids shivering, but having to eat outside until we get a dining hall, a main lodge built. And so that's our focus from here on out. And you're going to hear me plugging that every chance I get.
Oh, we appreciate that. If people want more information or how to help, Lonnie, what can they do?
reach out to us at Camp Rainbow Gold. Our website is camprainbowgold.org. And you can, if you want to donate, click on Hidden Paradise up on the top. It's a drop-down button because every penny right now, it's probably going to go towards that dining hall. Or reach out to me. You can find my information on the website. And I'd love to talk to anyone that has any ideas of how we can get things done up there. We're open.
Well, and we thank the Lord that you are. Lonnie, hang in there.
I will.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a good weekend.
All right, our great friend Lonnie joining us from Camp Rainbow Gold. CBS News featured that. Amazing what people in Idaho and across the country can do when they get it together, right? Oh, KIDO. Let's go to Doug in Mountain Home. Doug, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. So I didn't catch all that. What was the deal at Arlington?
Oh, you want me to repeat that again?
Yeah, if you would.
No worries. So basically, the folks at Arlington did not want President Trump there. So the Gold Star families called the Congress people, the Speaker Johnson. Speaker Johnson yelled at the people at Arlington. They got President Trump in.
Yeah, got you. Man, they hate him, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
They absolutely hate everything about this country. And I mean, some of the stuff I heard yesterday, again on Beck, because I ain't got nothing else to do, trying to heal up, and giving them two they're running, especially that, whatever you want to call that, from Minnesota. That guy's evil.
Oh, Waltz.
You start checking into his background and what he's done to Minnesota already about Christians and Jews there and teachers. Look that up. Anybody that's teaching Christians or the Jewish religion, no. You're going to lose your license to teach everything.
Yeah, he ain't down with the Christians.
Folks, huh?
He ain't down with the Christians.
Yep. I mean, this whole thing is good against evil. This is the last days, folks. So I don't see how anybody can vote for him. The only way you can vote for him, Kevin, is being one of them. Evil. Period. Evil or absolutely stupid.
Well, you either are one or you have one. I agree. The libs.
Yep. All right. Keep up the good work, man. I hope you find that thing I was asking you about.
I was looking
her.
for it. Yeah, I got Bo and Sweet William working on it, but I'm looking for that. Thank you.
Yep. See ya.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Sweet William, for reminding me. I would be negligent if I didn't acknowledge the huge news that happened yesterday. And the news was so big out of Idaho that it made Fox News. So big. And as many of you know, I subscribe to the Idaho Statesman. So I'm looking at their local section right now. And I got to be careful. I don't have to be careful. They know who I am. They sit there and they live in the same building that we live in. Got to be tough for them. They have that whole big facility that they've turned into a storage unit. Now they're living in our place. There aren't enough bathrooms in this building for men. Too much information. Sorry. So I'm looking at the local section, which I pay for from the Idaho Statesman. And what story do you think is big? Well, here's the headline. How fast is too fast on Boise's Greenbelt? Then we have another goofy, dumb story by Michael Deeds, no fan of ours. Who's Michael Deeds? Who cares? About some dumb concert. And then we have a story that the entire nation is focused in on. Our conservative governor, Brad Little. And when we think of Brad Little, we think of this.
Well, I will tell you, Kevin, in Idaho law, the mortician can arrest the sheriff. And the mortician's a friend of mine. So when you get that job, watch out for my mortician.
Brad Little, who many people have called names.
It's funny, 80 days ago, I was the most unregulated state in the nation, and now I'm Hitler.
From the Idaho Statesman, proper attribution. Hey, Statesman, once again, this show has been honored as one of the best in the country, the best talk show in the country. No love for the Idaho Statesman. I know you got the press release from the NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters. But anyway, that's okay. We don't need you. Becca Savrinsky decided to write this story. Good story. Great reporter. Standing on the steps of the Capitol, Governor Little praised Idaho for being the first state in the country to pass a law banning transgendered women, in other words, men trying to be women, from participating in female sports. Big rally at the State House yesterday. Idaho stands with female athletes. The crowd chanted just before Little signed an executive order that he said would ensure girls and boys receive equal opportunities under the law. The order directs the Idaho State Board of Education, are they even awake, to work with the State Department of Education to ensure public schools follow state laws on women's sports. Schools in Idaho are already to do this. By the way, why do we need a Board of Education if we have a Department of Education? Isn't that redundant? Don't say that, Kevin Miller. Here we have it. These girls and women and their families dedicate their time, passion, and often their money to improve their skills to compete and win, the governor said. That's why it is so important for us as a state, to do all we can to protect women and defend women's sports. Riley Gaines in town. Remember, we had her on. Thanks to the Idaho Majority folks. They had a big event for her last night. I can wholeheartedly attest to this, to the unfair competition. I can wholeheartedly attest to the extreme discomfort in the locker room. So Riley Gaines, 2 days ago, she was in Atlanta with Clay and Buck. Last week, she was with President Trump. And yesterday, she was in Idaho. This is big. This is big. It's so big, the libs can't ignore it. Now, let's see what the libs did. Let's go. We should call, what is this, Sweet William? Let's call this the Lib Report. Okay. So this story made Fox News. Let's go to some of our favorite news outlets. You saw the Statesman buried in the local section. We'll wait for the computer to load for one unnamed TV station. We'll get to them in a minute. I'm sure they'll have the Devil's Advocate show where they'll go, wow, it's really not that big of a deal. And they, of course, won't interview Riley or anybody else. I think I did see their report. But where do they place this one on their webpage? We used to call this the headline. Tribal Leaders Housing Ecosystem Summit hosted in Boise. Idaho Humane Society creates partnership to help West Valley Humane Society. Pretty big. Big City Coffee versus BSU's trial starts. Oh, yeah, Friday Night Football. I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. Buried down below, Governor Little signs executive order opposing Title IX protections. What? You know, when are they ever going to learn, man? When are they ever going to learn? Governor Little signs executive order opposing Title IX protections for LGBTQ athletes. That's Channel 7. That's where they're going. Channel 7's headline. Let's see. Do we have any other TV stations? CBS 2 Boise. Do we have that one? Yeah, I apologize. This computer. Bessie, the computer, is having a bad day. Just like the power in Boise. How about that? You ever notice since the mayor was reelected, the power goes out more than it ever used to? Why is that? Why is it that since the mayor was reelected?
Joe Biden.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. CBS 2. Very nice people. Spirit of Boise continues with balloon launches for Van Morrison. Okay. Not buried in the headline. Right after Biden-Harris, Riley Gaines joins Governor Little in Idaho's new law to protect women's sports. Remember, Channel 7's headline, liberal, said that they were voting against Title IX. Title IX protects women. It doesn't protect people that are not women. Can somebody defend that? Can somebody say that that's not true? But again, that's what they do. That's who they are. Now, Channel 6, who I met a lovely lady from Channel 6 the other day. She's a sales lady. And unlike the other folks at Channel 6, she actually was nice to us. And, said, we'd like to do something with you, Kevin Miller, because you guys do a lot of things. So here we go. Headlines. Maybe we should turn this into a feature. Boise School District introduces new initiatives to prevent suicide. Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic cancels tethered rides. This is yesterday. We have the young lady in the morning doing the weather. Okay. Governor Little joins Riley Gaines, signs executive order against Title IX. So only CBS 2 has the headline right. Here we have it. Executive order against Title IX changes. Well, maybe that's okay. It should be protecting Title IX, but what do I know? I'm not a journalist. Other news, Warhawk Museum volunteers receive Spirit of Idaho Award. Good for them. Is that the Senator Crapo one? Did we get the Spirit of Idaho Award before it was? I think he just gave us a potato and said, you're a good potato. More coming up next. Kevin Miller, Beacon Plumbing brings you Fox News, KIDO Talk Radio. And this is for our friend Tyler, who for some reason is monitoring us, overlooking Bo. Maybe he's going to put Bo in a chokehold. I'm just telling you what I think is going on here, and it's going to be the end of Bo.
KIDO.
Exactly. Meridian, good morning, Steve.
Hey, Kevin. Good morning. How are you?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for what you do. The topic you were speaking on in the last few minutes caught my attention. I was running some errands, and I'm happy to hear Idaho has taken that step. Hope another 49 states do. Don't hold your breath on that, though.
No, you're not. But, and I could go into details. We could go behind the scenes. But I think right now, no one else is doing this, and nobody else is governor. And Barbara Earhart, the representative, she was the one, former coach. She has been the spearhead of this. She's been on with Glenn Beck. She's been all over the country. And, little eastern Idaho, maybe the Pocatello area, this lady has really made a difference.
Man, that's pretty exciting. Glad to hear that. I mean, I have a couple things to say. The first is XY chromosome or XX chromosome. That ends arguments right there. And it's a shame that our schools are a breeding ground for perversions and bad information. Schools are also a place for good inspiration. And sadly, when boys or girls begin to question even their gender as they continue to grow with those, disturbing thoughts that are not true, they grow up into families that are not solid with a masculine and a feminine parent working together to raise children, and our society crumbles. And I'm disappointed that, I'm a half a century old, Kevin, and back when I was a kid in school, if you saw two boys holding hands, they would get punched. They would get told that's wrong. That was gross. Don't do that. That's wrong. Nowadays, it's just the opposite. If you're one of the few that speak up and say, that's wrong, that's gross, don't do that, you're the one that society points the finger at as if you're judgmental and wrong. But the truth is, it is a perversion. It's gross. It's disgusting. Heterosexual society is a godly society. And although the media, fueled by satanic misinformation, is trying to convince a lot of people otherwise, just remember, XY chromosome, XX chromosome. Men are designed physically, emotionally, spiritually to connect in a romantic way with a woman. That's it. There are no exceptions to that. And I don't care if Netflix has to have a gay character in every movie. I don't care if every video game now says, do you want to be male or female or non-binary? That's nonsense. I don't care if high schools now have charts in liberal teachers' classrooms that suggest there's 500 different genders. People, there's going to be misinformation. We need to educate the young people to say it is not acceptable to act as if you're a different gender. Boys need to be boys, and girls need to be girls. And there's wonderful greatness in that. And so America, starting here in Idaho, starting wherever we are, let's continue to make a stand and not be like the repeated generations over history that have this ridiculous, nonsense. So, Kevin, I'm not happy how our society is trending, but I can only choose for myself and I can only speak up. So I'm going to do those two things.
And Steve, we appreciate the call, and you just did. Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Idaho, with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, real quick, I'm going to catch you on that last hour before where you said that the Daily Caller was the only one carrying that story about Arlington. No, Gateway Pundit had it yesterday, and basically they said what the deal was with the photographers. First off, Trump did get acknowledgement with him and the staff to be there. The Gold Star families asked him to be there with his staff. and it came down to the photographers. Apparently, the Army, supposedly in their cemeteries there, doesn't allow anybody but their own official Arlington official staff's people to be there and do any photographs. So that's where this altercation came in. So I just wanted to clarify what I saw.
Well, that's what you saw. I'm going with my news outlet. You can go with yours.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Hold on. I appreciate you letting me go on that. So what else can we do for you, young man?
Well, the other thing too, you're hearing me talking about election integrity and what's going to be coming up here and what we have to face. Gateway Pundit again has it this morning. Rhino sellout Mitch McConnell moves to torpedo election integrity efforts by blocking the SAVE Act in upcoming spending bill and open the door to illegals voting U.S. elections. Now, we're all saying, how could anybody out there vote for the Chameleon Harris or Commie Harris and that communist Tim Waltzy boy? But then how could people go out and keep putting the turkey gobbler, Mitch McConnell, back in power to do these? This SOB plays both sides of the aisle. Now, when you have a rhino Republican like that, he is a true rhino. He is actually a turncoat. He's a traitor to the Republican Party, the true Republicans in the Republican Party. And he's there to torpedo the election integrity efforts. I mean, I hope Hannity and I hope Glenn Beck, I'm sure Glenn Beck will talk about that.
Well, Glenn Beck really is in the club anymore. Me, Sean, Lars, we're still in the club.
He's in the chorus like you and me, Kevin. They sometimes go off the reservation, but when you go off the reservation, sometimes you discover things.
Hold on, that's a very good description of Mr. Beck, yes.
Yeah,
yes, he does go off the reservation quite a bit.
Well, you can't use tunnel vision all the time. Sometimes you have to look around outside that tunnel to see sometimes things that are going on underneath your nose or around this world.
And I think again, I've become the unofficial commentator on Glenn Beck. But then when he does stupid things with Stu and whatever, I think Glenn Beck.
I know.
And look, we enjoy talking talk radio, so let's just go toe to toe about Glenn Beck. I will say this about Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck and Mark, you at the time remember when he was on the cover of Time magazine. I personally went out when we had 4 or 5 bookstores and I bought them to give those away. We didn't give away trips to, whatever. We gave away magazines. People loved that. And that 100,000 people that went to the Memorial in Washington, at one time he had a chance to be the next Rush. And then he lost his mind, in my opinion, when he wanted to sell jeans, when he wanted to do this, when he talked about Sarah Palin in a bikini. And all the goofiness, and there's just no credibility. I mean, when Beck is on, he's good, but I mean, he has Stu and Pat, and I don't really care about Stu and Pat. I don't care about Stu's opinion. Glenn Beck is again at one time one of the most gifted communicators ever. I won't say talk show host because he's more of a communicator, and what he's done with the Blaze is great. It's a model for a lot of folks, but sometimes you just got to give me the sauce, bro, and take a look at it. I mean, he made a bad call with Donald Trump, and I still don't think Trump has been on. I think Trump Jr. has, but so for Beck, to me, he's an enigma.
I agree with you, Kevin. I'd be honest with you. I don't really listen to him. I don't have time because I'm kind of doing my own things during the day.
Well, you're doing the research for the show. We appreciate that.
Well, I do listen though to Kevin Miller, KIDO.
But here's the thing with
every day when I can.
No, and I appreciate that. And let me put it to you this way about Glenn Beck. Look, Glenn Beck has a huge following in Idaho, and the guy comes into the state. He meets with the legislature. He doesn't let us know. He literally probably drove by our studios. As great as he is without radio, Mr. Beck would not have his empire. He's been to the state, been to the Lincoln Days, didn't acknowledge us. And we promote him all the time. And it's like, hey man, if you're not in it to promote the radio, then we'll God bless you and good luck with that. And again, commentators are commentators. He goes and meets with Governor Little, and then he calls him all sorts of names. And I'm like, that may work in Texas. It certainly doesn't work in Idaho.
Well, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, what can I say? But he did point out our good Secretary of State. I forget his name at the moment. that he did accept Zuckerberg bucks, and I know that he's an Idaho guy. He's in our government here, but and then there was an article yesterday that came out about apparently the Demon Rats have a whole system that just dwarfs what Zuckerberg did with the Zuckerbucks and the setting up the mailboxes out there, the drop boxes and all that. By the way, did you know California Senate passed a law yesterday banning voter ID in local elections and paving the way for illegals voting? This is the kind of stuff that I try to bring up all the time. And it's like, unless this stuff is stopped or fixed, and how are you going to stop it in this demon rat-controlled socialist communist states like California, Oregon, Washington State, or places back east in New York? Unless this stuff is stopped, it's going to happen. Now, I do know that Governor Abbott, they cleaned the voting rolls down there of over 1 million people, including illegals. That was on yesterday.
Right, but then you have the Democrats saying, hey, it's voter suppression. Mark, I got to run. Let's go to John in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. John, thank you for the call.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the program. And
hey,
you.
Great. Yeah, I just wanted to mention something about that binary gender thing. I was down getting my eye examined at a place that I won't mention, but when you go to see the doctor, they give you the form to fill out, and it asks for your sex, and it wanted male, female, or binary, and or non-binary, it said. And I blew it off. I didn't think about it much. I checked the A box. And then when I handed the form in, I was looking around, and I noticed they only sell glasses for men and women. So I asked them, well, what if I check the other box? Where do I get my glasses? And they had no answer. So, yeah, I think a lot of it is just to say they're doing something. I don't think people really believe that stuff.
Well, I think a lot of people get along to go along. John, thank you for the call, and we appreciate the in-depth report about the eye doctor. Here we call him our sidekick, our little buddy. Tea Party Bob on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for the call. Good morning.
What is this sidekick stuff?
That would be you. You're the sidekick.
Oh, I was going to say, maybe you just want to kick me in the side?
You're a side order of fries, from what I hear.
Let me just say this about Arlington. You can be sure that this fiasco was done purposely by Biden and the administration so Trump couldn't attend the ceremony, as it was going to be a total embarrassment to Biden and Kamala for not showing up themselves. And I think it is absolutely disgraceful that neither of these bozos showed up to honor the 13 killed in the Afghanistan withdrawal. But then it was those two idiots who were responsible for this tragic event. And by the way, it just came over the Newsmax that Trump is mulling over releasing the video of this Arlington event. So we'll see if that comes out. And while I applaud Governor Little's executive order to address Title IX...
How about that? The governor. Yes, Governor Little.
I haven't finished yet.
Oh, sorry.
And while I applaud his Title IX revisions for women's sports, this does not make him any more of a conservative as far as I'm concerned.
Boo,
I once again want to admonish him and the legislative leadership for not trying to help the Idahoans dealing with the high inflation by eliminating the grocery tax.
You got me on
Too
that
many
one.
Idahoans are suffering because big business lobbyists working for the corporate elitists continue to keep this onerous tax in place as Idahoans struggle to make ends meet. Our governor loves the accolades for things like this in his executive order. But when it comes to doing something that would help the people that he was elected to govern, he is a complete failure. And as I can say, all I can say is, Governor Little, do what you promised and get rid of this onerous grocery tax. Tonight, Kamala will give her first interview with CNN. But this is not a live interview, and it's going to be taped and edited, so you can be sure that there will be no word salads or bloopers, as she will also have Comrade Walz to help her answer the questions. Now, this will be a joke of the election, but the liberal press will play it up and hail it as a move in the right direction for her campaign, while you can be sure this whole interview is going to be scripted. You know, the problem is that so many Americans are low information voters. They will accept this as the real thing and not a staged event. Kamala is doing everything she can to buy votes, from giving away $25,000 mortgages, down payments, to $6,000 credit for parents of newborns. And I wouldn't doubt that she would claim that the $6,000 credit will help cut down on the number of abortions. You know, I give Kamala another 2 to 3 weeks before her campaign falls apart, and the voters figure out just what she has done to destroy this country, from allowing 8 million illegals into our country to being the tie-breaking vote that passed the $1 trillion plus infrastructure bill that has helped fuel the 20% inflation for the past 2 years. I don't have much else to say this morning, Kevin. Great show, and thank you.
I appreciate you, but, I mean, let's get back to this, man. Governor Little's coming out strong. Riley Gaines, that's pretty huge.
Governor Little still smells.
Are you appreciating?
Okay.
Wow. That's not nice.
There is still a very distinct odor over him, since he would not get this damn grocery tax eliminated.
Well, sadly, the only people that bring that up are you and me, little buddy.
Yeah, I know. Well, you have to bring it up every once in a while, or everybody forgets it. And I want them to remember it when the next election comes around.
Well, I think we lost that one, little buddy.
No. It's coming up. People are going to remember it because they are really hurting. And this guy has done nothing to help them.
I don't know about that. I think he's gearing up for his reelection.
Sure as heck ain't getting my vote.
Well, he never got your vote.
Well, he never asked for it by doing something the right way.
You look at things strategically, though, which we do that no one else does, and this is a brilliant move on many issues. By the way, can I say something that you're not going to like?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't see now. Again, let's say pick your conservative candidate against him.
If I had to pick a conservative, actually, I've got two choices, and there really are only two choices.
Right.
Dorothy Moon or Labrador. And I think Labrador is doing such a great job where he is.
What about Congressman Fulcher, who attended your wedding? He's out of the running now?
I think Fulcher would be a great governor, but I'm not so sure he wants to give up his position in Congress. But if he did, I would back him 100%.
Well, Terry from State College, Pennsylvania says, why hasn't Governor Little asked TPB to be his advisor?
Oh, please. Why would I even want to get close to that stench?
Terry, now. Terry likes to get your goat. However, I got to say that, let's just put it on the line here. If the powers that be had a choice between Governor Little and Dorothy Moon in a Republican primary, in a strange way, the jungle primary might actually help a challenger. However, I can't see that there are enough people that are going to vote for her over him. What am I missing?
All I will say is the convention gave Dorothy a little over 60% of the vote from the delegates. That tells me there's a change taking place.
I'm with you, but however, in the primary, you have people that are not the delegates. You have some squishy Democrats, squishy Republicans. If they knew the gig was up, who are they going to vote for? I'm just saying, I'm just giving you this, that whoever challenges the governor, we don't know if he's running for re-election, but whoever challenges the governor, they're going to have to figure out how to expand their base.
Well, let me put it to you this way. The governor, last time he got elected, gave all the state employees a pay raise before the election. Let me tell you something. That is the swing vote in this state. Those state employees
There's a huge number of them when you include them and their spouses and their families. So it'll be a tough election, but I still think he can be ousted.
The Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com. Our friend Tea Party Bob, thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Have a good day.
Have a great day. Let's go to Cindy in Eagle with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Cindy, thank you for the call.
Good morning, Kevin. Well, I don't think Dorothy Moon would have allowed people to be arrested for singing hymns in the church parking lot during COVID. Enough said on that. I'm still angry about
Wow, Cindy, bring in the heat. Now, I'm talking, though, I'm not talking about who you prefer. I'm talking about the realities of the campaign. Maybe I'm wrong, but you're going to need, I think it's going to be more, let me put it to you this way. I think it's going to be more than just the Republican base that decides this election.
And there are so many surprises anymore. You never know. Things are so volatile. It's always shocking. I look at the news every day like a movie. It's just terribly interesting at the cost of a lot of people. I wanted to mention something, speaking of volatility, I wanted to mention something that I keep forgetting to call in about. Happened 4.5 years ago, or 4 years prior to the last election. And, my son and my granddaughter and I heard that there was to be a Trump rally. And to me, this kind of thing illustrates the difference between Republicans and Democrats, or conservatives and liberals. And we went down, there was to be a Trump rally downtown. We thought, let's go. So we got in the car, and we expected maybe 35, 50 cars. When we got down there, there were hundreds and hundreds of cars. And it was one of the most exciting and one of the best memories I have of my son. And you just had to fight for a place in line, and people were happy, and they were waving flags and everything. And the way it worked was you got in line, and then you slowly made your way to the Capitol. There were cars. Everybody was in a fabulous mood. My granddaughter was hanging the flag out the window, and people were cheering. And we were going down river, and there was a young man coming toward us, just an innocent man, I would say maybe 18, 19 years old, maybe younger, and he had a box of flags. And he was just walking along the side of the road with his box of flags. And we're all sitting there, you can't move. And out of nowhere, this guy came. And he looked like he was about college age. And he ran up to this kid, and he slugged him and decked him. And my son, we were stunned. And so my son started to get out of the car to go after this guy. And there were 3 servicemen in a truck in front of us. And they jumped out of the truck, ran to the guy, pulled him up, and they were going to go after the puncher. And the kid